Ready.
Welcome, and I'm going to call to order the December 19th, 2017 Board of Commissioner meetings. If you have any cell phones, any electronic communication devices, please shut them off now if you would. Agendas are located at the back of the meeting room here on the bookcases. First, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, or I'm sorry, the moment of silent reflection, and then Pledge of Allegiance started by Ron Buskerud. Go and stand for a second.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we'll have the review and approval of the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by DeSanto, second by LaCroy. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Hawley, please, consent agenda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Holly Hennies, Commission Office Manager. For public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the Board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items. Number 5 is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of December 5th, 2017. Number 6 is the approval of the South Dakota Game Fish and Park Services contract/agreement for the Whitetail Loop Road and 236th Street for snow removal as submitted by the Highway Department. Number 7 is to recognize and thank the volunteers for the month of November 2017 as submitted by Human Resources. Number 8 is to acknowledge a change in vendor as previously approved to Liberty Dodge for the Sheriff's Office vehicle purchase as submitted by the Sheriff's Office. And finally, number 9 is to approve an expanded motion previously approved on October 3rd to read to continue to operate the Wall Satellite Office location in 2018, contingent upon the completion of a satisfactory correction plan to address the ADA compliance issues.
Thank you, Ms. Hawley.
Thank you.
Does any citizen would like to remove any items 5 through 9 on the consent agenda today? Is there any commissioner that would like to remove any items 5 through 9 on the consent agenda today?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. DeSanto.
number 5.
Number 5, sir. Anyone else? If not,
Item 9, please, Madam
Thank you.
Chair.
Commissioner LaCroy on item number 9. Any other items? If not, can we have a motion on 6, 7, and 8, please?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by LaCroy, second by DeSanto. Any discussion on 6, 7, and 8? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, Commissioner DeSanto.
Come to my attention that a vote is noted incorrectly, pardon me, on the, let's see here, where I thought I marked it down. On the plat for Walter Horton, I was a no vote on that, and it records me as a yes vote.
It was 3-2 is what the vote
Correct.
was. Ms. Kara, did you get that correction?
We just did, yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Any other discussion? If not, vote on number 5, please. A motion?
So move with the changes.
Moved by LaCroy,
Second?
second by DeSanto. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, Commissioner LaCroy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The reason why I pulled this, the wall office recommendation, is because I still stand by my vote of no. I think during the budget process, people come back and had to make some cuts, and not only with the Sheriff's Department, but also the Treasurer's Office. And I believe that this money to keep the wall office open would be better used as putting security back into the administration building. help them with those costs. That's my thoughts on this. I think, they do the treasurer's office did due diligence in researching this and so forth, and I understand, the Wall community likes this as it's more convenient for them, but I think the money would better be used for our administration security.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner DeSanto, please.
with all due respect to Lloyd and his opinion, I agree. I respect his opinion, but I feel that we had enough people come from Wall to voice their opinion. And it's the furthest reaches of Pennington County out on the upper corner of Wall, in which people would have to drive somewhere in the vicinity of 2 hours to get here and 2 hours to get home. And I just think that that would be a disservice to our people of Pennington County and Wall that are taxpayers as well.
Thank you, Commissioner DeSanto. Any other discussion?
I just have one follow-up.
Commissioner LaCroy.
The funding for this, to keep this open, comes out of the contingency. If we get to, later on in the agenda, we have security to talk about. I'd probably be requesting money from contingency for something else. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I believe that the Wall office, there was enough people supporting from Wall, and there was some good arguments on both sides, but I believe it should be open. Number two, that is in contingency, but we also, with the sheriff, turns back money every year, so I believe that we can fund what's coming next through that, because, again, we have had many times, and the sheriff has also told us that we have had money turned back many times, to the tune of sometimes $1 million. So I believe both are positive for Pennington County and for the citizens. So I agree with you both on both sides, but I think they're both good projects. Thank you. Do we have a motion or any other discussion?
Move for approval.
Moved by DeSanto,
Second.
second by Buschard. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carries with one no from Commissioner LaCroy. That's the end of the consent calendar. Now we're on regular agenda items. Lien request. Ms. Hawley, do we have somebody on the phone, please?
Ma'am, are you online? Ma'am, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead and talk to the board.
Okay, this is about a lien that's on my house, and it's 27 years old, and I didn't even get a bill for it till 10, 15 years afterwards. I don't know why, and it was from a collection agency, and I've been paying on it. I just can't pay on it. It's going to take me forever to pay off any of it. You know, the amount I paid is because I want to save my house from being sold with that lien on it. It happened so long ago that it brings back bad memories, and it's caused problems in the family.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else?
You can ask me questions if you want.
Okay,
I
ma'am.
don't know what to say for sure.
Miss Mary, I won't say your last name, but if they have any questions, the board, I'll have them address you as Miss Mary, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroy.
I've reviewed Miss Mary's report, and she's been pretty consistent when she's made the payments at the most she can. I believe she's made a good faith effort to do it, and looking at the income, the only amount of income that she has, I think it's only appropriate that we waive it.
Thank you. Do you have a motion, Commissioner LaCroy?
That'd be my motion.
Motion to basically relieve this debt. Is there a second? I'll second it for discussion.
Madam Chairman, I have a question for you,
Yes,
ma'am. Do you own your house?
yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have discussion?
So we've done this before. When they sell the house, did that pass before, or did it work out through the state's attorneys when she sells her house that she pays back that date?
Well, it would if as long as the lien stays on it.
But she can't sell
I don't
it.
have a problem with telling our collection agency to leave her alone. I don't have a problem with that. But I don't know if she owns a house, why the taxpayers of Pennington County should pick up her debt. She's got the money, it's just in a house.
This is the only thing I own.
I realize that, ma'am, and what I'm saying is, we're not gonna take it away from you, we don't wanna do that. But, when the time comes, as it does for all of us, that we're not around anymore, your estate is gonna own that house. And
Why?
why?
Yeah.
We have a judge here, I suppose he could explain the laws of the state of South Dakota, but that's the way it goes.
What? How much more do I have to pay? You're not on this,
The entire amount.
huh?
When the house gets sold, ma'am, the entire amount.
Which is
I don't know, my figures say $1,327.
I can't believe that. I can't believe that you would think that way because the state itself didn't even send me a bill for 10 to 15 years how you were supposed to pay something. This, I could have had this ahead of myself instead of behind. They didn't even send me a notice of this.
Miss Mary, you've been paying payments since 26,
I felt that I was going to lose my home and have nowhere to live.
so ma'am, that tells me that you knew there was a debt, ma'am, if you were paying since 2016. You had
I
to,
was told that I had to.
okay, but you didn't know the balance,
or my
ma'am,
home
was,
would be sold immediately.
I don't know that, but,
Well, I did a big circle of stuff for about a week or two, and I got told a lot of scary things.
I appreciate that, ma'am.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Commissioner LaCroy.
you brought up a good point. I think we went through this with some others. There was talks about putting it as a secondary lien and stopping the collections and so forth. That way, I mean, that's a possibility. I don't know if anybody could give us some information on how we could do that.
Why can't you have some compassion for a person in need?
Ma'am, we understand your need in this case, but we also have many people that have these kind of issues that need help. So I think Lloyd is trying to help you and move this forward where you can still not have a lien on your house, ma'am, and
Okay.
still pay that debt once your house is sold. Does that make sense?
I don't like that idea at all. I thought they were just going to wipe it out.
Yes, ma'am. Any other discussion?
I have a substitute motion to inform our Credit Collections Bureau not to send her any more requests or demands, but that the liens stay on.
Say the last part again, please. Say the last part again.
And the lien stays on.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second for discussion. So Commissioner Busker, tell me what that means when the credit collection, they'll just take it off because it's our debt?
They just won't notify her anymore. They'll leave her alone. She won't get any more requests from them, demands from them, nothing. We do this quite often, just take it off of their books. However, the lien will stay on, so when the house gets sold, the lien will be there. And The county will get paid.
Do you people realize that that lien prevents me from getting any help to help my house?
I don't know anything about that. I would think that it would be a debt and probably help you get help.
It doesn't.
All right.
But you guys are going to decide what you're going to decide, and I guess I'll have to swallow it.
Any other discussion? There is a motion on the floor. Ms. Kara, could you read that motion again?
To have the lien returned from credit collections, but keep the lien on her. Just
Okay.
return.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I,
Motion carried with 1 no from Commissioner LaCroy. Thank you, Miss Mary.
What was the final thing?
That
Are
credit
you
collection,
going to send me papers?
what's that, ma'am?
Are you going to send me some paperwork on this?
I don't,
Ken?
we can?
we can-
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
we
we
will.
do.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Mary.
Yes.
Number 11 is security concerns for county administration building.
Well, I guess I put this on there, Madam Chairman. We're getting a whole bunch of concerns from employees over there. And quite frankly, it goes along with the next one, with the proposed transformation center. It's anybody's guess, of course, and you hate to say anything, but if we're gonna have 300 homeless people across the street, I don't blame these people working in the treasurer's office for being a little nervous and a little excited. And, that's, I guess, the reason I got the next one on there is to see what's going to happen. We spent over $20 million building this building so the taxpayers of Pennington County would have a convenient way to come and work with the county and do whatever they have to do. And now we're looking at putting homeless shelter across the street with I don't know how many people, and make it probably inconvenient for the people to come down here. So I would hope that we find a way to put some security back in this building, and if not, even on the outside of it.
Thank you.
And can I keep going?
Yes, sir.
And there is a concern how we're going to pay for it. I understand that. It looks like it's about, what was it, $72,000. I guess my thought is the same as what Lloyd had a little bit ago. The sheriff gives us back $400,000 or $500,000 every year because he manages his budget very good. I guess he can take the $72,000 out of that, and we'll get $72,000 less at the end of this year. At the end of this year, if he doesn't have the money to pay for it, he'll have to come back to us, and we'll have to find him the money. End of story.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner LaCroy.
I think that was Deb that said that, Ron, but I think the total cost is more like 160,000 is what it's going to be, because you're talking about a 1.5 FTE for the administration building and a 1.5 for the transformation center that he'd put in for that, if we were going to fund both.
I didn't put that in there. Excuse me, I didn't put that in.
No, you
Okay.
said about the budget, that's what I was talking about.
Okay, I
He made
apologize,
that
Lord. I
comment.
thought you meant I said to put the restoration center in with this
No,
project.
no,
Okay, thank you,
I
sir.
didn't say that. And I think Ron's right with the 72,000. I would look to reinstate that. And then I suppose if his budget comes up short, he comes back and asks for money. But I would definitely, at this point in time, would like to put the security back in the administration building. I think for the restoration center, I think it's scheduled for a June opening or move-in date. So I think there'd be cost savings on that, and we could wait and see how that works out to see what we want to do with that. But that's my thoughts on the process. I'd probably like to hear from Kevin or
Clear phone
Brian.
here. Mr. Tome, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kevin Tone, Pantee County Sheriff. And I have a copy of a memo that I previously gave you. Can I hand that out to the commission again this morning?
Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin.
I got it on my computer, so.
Just a quick recap. Last year during the budget process, we came to you with a $182,000 general fund decrease on the front side of the budget process. And through the budget process, we ended up giving that $182,000 back to the county twice, unlike any other elected official or department head. And everybody else made cuts to their budget in terms of elected officials and department heads. I respect that. We're the only ones that did it twice. So my only request is if you want to reinstate security for this building, and the cost I gave you in the memo was $72,869. And at the time, you asked us to identify items that weren't statutorily mandated in terms of services and what would you cut. And that's why I included these two items, the deputy for the restoration center and then the security for this building, because it's not a statutory mandate. I think it's a good practice, but not a statutory mandate. And if you want to reinstate that, and Commissioner Busk is right, we've turned back about $1 million a year the last few years, and we'll turn back probably about $900,000 again this year. I don't want to build a structural deficit into the budget. I think that's a poor way to do budgeting. If you're going to reinstate security in this building, take the $72,869 and supplement it into this year's budget out of leftover funds from 2017, and the auditor's office can help us with that process when we get into January, February, March, and start doing supplements. And so that'd be my only request. And the FTE still remains in the budget. You didn't remove the FTE, so wouldn't need to request the 1.5 FTE for it. So certainly stand for any questions you may have.
Questions? Motion?
Could you reinstate that so I can make that motion?
Pardon? What I would request is the 72,869 be supplemented out of our over-collected revenues, under-reported revenues, as some prefer to call it, into our 2018 budget to accommodate for this. So I don't start the year out with a structural deficit. Next year, we'll probably have additional revenues if it continues as is. I just don't want to build a structural deficit into our budget on the front side.
That'd be my motion.
Here, a second. I'll second that for discussion.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroy, please.
Thanks for your help with that, Kevin. I took some time out last week and went in and visited with some of the letters that we'd gotten in concerns of removing the security. And I just want to firsthand thank all the employees for their time. I mean, I think I talked to about 12 or 13, and the treasurer's office was very opening with that. And some of their concerns are valid. I mean, they're valid concerns. They do not want a glass case put up in front of them. They felt that would be more of a hindrance or create more problems with some people. They like the one-on-one contact with the people, but we do know that we have some problem people and some certain things could happen and get out of hand, but that the security not only makes them feel more safe in their position, but it has also helped. It's not on a daily basis, but when things do get out of hand, they are there to be able to help. And I think it's very important that we reinstate this.
Thank you, Commissioner LaCroy. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair, I don't know if we have anybody here from the auditor's office, maybe not, but, it's nice to say what we should do is use the money that was left over from last year. That's already been used. I mean, what we're doing really, and maybe, I guess I'm not totally against it, is we're going to take it out of the reserve. That's what we're doing. Because that money's already been stuck back in. So, if we want to do that, that's what we're doing.
Thank you, Commissioner Buschard. Any other discussion? I'm with Mr. LaCroy. I believe that the security is a good thing for this building. I believe in the future there'll be other places that will need security for their buildings. The other issue is, I've talked to many of the people in this building as well, and I get a positive feedback about what the Sheriff's Department has, not only for security, but just helpful. Unfortunately, Sheriff or the front desk person, they're asking them questions. And so it works in a positive way, not just for security, but for other reasons in this building. So we appreciate that. And again, I went to the planning and the different areas in our building to ask the planning department and stuff what they thought about the security for the future of this building. And I'm with Mr. LaCroy. It's been positive, and I think we should move forward with it. Any other discussion? If not,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ms.
Hi.
Donna.
Good morning. I'm Donna Meyer, Pennington County Register of Deeds. I just wanted to clarify, it isn't what's coming that we're concerned about, it's what we see already. Since it's not an always occurrence with the public, but we've had enough episodes with the public coming from other county offices that have had not a good experience. They then swear at my people that are the last people they see before they go out the door, flip them off. And also our customers at times get very upset when we can't find the records that they're looking for. They get very upset with us and get angry. All we have to do is look at the officer that's over there at the desk. They will turn and look, and sometimes they don't. The officer does have to come up to the counter, but it de-escalates the situation so that we can have a discussion. There has been a time where Eric has had to ask the customer to leave the building or calm down or leave the building. So it isn't something that's coming in the future that my staff and I are concerned about. It's what we have seen since we've moved over here.
Thank you, Ms. Donna. I've talked to your group, and I agree. It's what I've talked to them about that might be, unfortunately, without being mean, what might go across the street, and then what is happening now. So that's what I've been talking to people in the building about. So that's what I mean by that and their concerns. Are they negative or are they positive? They're both. So I'll be fair.
Good morning. Janet Saylor, Pennington County Treasurer. I agree with everything Donna has said. I don't know if all the commissioners or the public are aware of the fact that people have to come to our office and they have to give us money. They don't like it. They don't like to pay their taxes. They don't like to have to pay what they pay to license their vehicle. Everything we do is mandated by law, which upsets them. We've had stuff thrown at the people that work in this office. We've had people start fighting in line. Do we call the sheriff's office every time something happens? No, we do not. But our famous line is, we can go get security. They're right down the hall. And people's attitude changes immediately. We've had people that fight in line that aren't even related, that don't even know each other, just because they're upset because they overheard a conversation or a remark that was made about somebody else in line. My employees just want to feel safe, and they feel safe with security sitting down there because we know all we have to do is run down the hall or pick up the phone and call him directly, and we don't need to call 911. It's a matter of safety and for them feeling comfortable in the surrounding that they're in. So I would ask that for the amount of money that it's going to cost the county, that the employees feel safe and that you give the sheriff the ability to keep that security in the office.
Thank you, Ms. Janet. Who's this guy?
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff Davis, one of the
Good morning,
circuit
Jeff.
judges. I was asked to come down and give just a little background on the building. As you all know, I've been an active participant in the county building program for the whole existence. And a lot of time and effort went into the design of the building here. We all knew that it didn't need the level of security that the courthouse did. In fact, the county was anxious to move out so that all the county people weren't subjected to the security level. So a lot of time and effort went into it. The information station is inside the front door for that reason. And both Donna and Janet have touched on that. It's been my experience in the courthouse that just having that aura of law enforcement present deters a lot of situations. If Commissioner Buskard thinks back far enough, when he and I were the young dudes in the old courthouse, and he officed on second floor behind the treasurer's office, I think you were called a couple times to quell a disturbance. I'd been called down from third floor to quiet a situation or escort somebody from the building. In the old days, I used to go out back with Helen Doffabaugh and cut the lips off of coyotes for the bounty. I learned how not to catch fleas from them from her. So things have evolved, things have changed, but I think we're at the appropriate level with the security in the building now. Thanks.
Thank you, Judge
Thank you,
Davis.
Judge.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak on the security of the building? Shannon Rick.
Shannon Rittberger, Director of Equalization. I'll just say that I agree with all the other offices. They said things appropriately, and I just agree.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? We do have a motion on the floor. Do we need it reread?
Madam Chair, one more
Chair
comment.
LaCroix.
I think Brown brought up a good point. It comes out of the reserves. Well, we could take it out of contingencies, same way we took out the wall office. That would be my,
You have a motion.
someone else will have to make that.
I think we serve the same purpose by doing that, Commissioner LaCroix, so
It's-
I would say to stay, my opinion is we stay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I think it's the ethical thing to do. I mean, that's what we did for one during the budget process, and we've got, I think we should have 140 in there, which we thought was up too high already anyhow. I think it's fair. If we're taking one from contingency, we should take both.
So do you want to remove your motion? Take off the.
Make a friendly
table.
amendment if it's acceptable.
Read, Ms. Kara, could you
I'll
read that?
need you guys to reread the motion for me. If
So
Kevin,
the
could
first
you
motion,
reread
if
it?
I'm correct, was to take it out of over collected revenue for the sheriff's department. Now it's going to be through contingency. So I think you need a whole new motion, or remove that motion from the table. The first motion. That's my opinion.
I'd remove it.
Okay. I'll second that in respect of what you're trying to do, sir. So do we have a new motion on the floor?
I'd move to reinstate the security for the administration with the funding coming from contingency.
Is there a second?
Well, I'll second it with proviso that I'd like Holly to tell us how much money we have in contingency.
The amount approved for 2018 is 165,000.
And we still have that much?
I apologize, sir, I didn't run that report. I don't know what we're sitting at as of
Well, we
right
probably have
today.
72,000.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that I think your motion today should be to reinstate security, and then we deal with the funding appropriately. Because depending on what fund you take it out of is whether a public hearing is gonna have to be posted, and I don't know that you can do all of that today.
Thank you, Ms. Holly.
I amend my motion,
Okay.
if it's okay with the seconder.
Buskard, you okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, sir.
So
the
your motion
on the-
is to just reinstate security?
Yes,
Then-
ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All opposed? Motion carries. Ooh, we got through that one. Request for information on proposed
Madam Chair, if I
transformation
just
center.
point of clarification. You reinstated security then, so is it a subsequent meeting? We'll come back and talk about funding for the position?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that my understanding?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Tome. Sorry, I didn't see you up there. Next is the request number 12, information on proposed transformation center. Did somebody want to go first? Mr. Vargas, you said you had some information. Would you like to go first on this issue?
Madam Chair, this was Ron's
It was I see it my small little motion drew a real crowd. All I was really looking for was some information on what's going on. As I've said earlier, we got $20 million or $30 million stuck in this campus, and it'd be nice to know what's going across the street. I know they haven't asked us for any money, so, I'm not sure we have a say-so one way or the other in it, other than talking with the city fathers on whether they're gonna come up with $7 million to fund it, but, other than that, I just wanna know what's going on. That's simple. How many people are gonna be there? How many people are gonna be housed there? Where are they gonna get the food? What are they gonna do?
Thank you, Ron. I think people have questions, and that's why they're here today, and I think it's good for both sides to listen to those questions, including myself. So, and those answers and maybe some of that stuff that we can maybe find solution, because people think, truly believe I'm about shutting this down or I'm not for this. All I asked was for some data. I've been going around to many groups, including their consultant, and I don't feel like those answers or the data and the things that they have shown me personally are coming together with what they're doing. And that's why I kept asking different questions. And then when you do, it's like then you go back and then people are mad at you because you're asking questions and you're telling them what you found and what people are saying to you. And then all of a sudden that means you're against it. Not my intention, and people know me good enough. I have helped many of the nonprofits in town around my district, in my backyard, in my area in Rapid City. I want data, I want information for me to be able to go back to constituents, because a lot of people are asking me. A lot of groups from the reservations, some of the people from Illinois, some of the people from even the consultant, some of the people that have been doing this 30 years, some of the police officers that don't always agree with the chief, some of the other people. I like to hear it all. I like to hear it all. And if they disagree with me, I'm okay. But the other thing is then show me your proof and show me your data, because I think it would settle a lot down. But all I keep hearing from myself is we're all in the dark. We're in a vacuum. We don't know what we're talking about. That's not a good way to communicate to people when you want to know information. Because I think the best thing you could do is give all the information that you can on this and get the people that do have the servants' hearts and the people that want to serve this project up there, giving us data and information. To tell us that you're doing a $16 million project from the county across the street and threw it in the paper and we knew nothing. That's disingenuous, because we are across the street and we are doing a restoration center, and then you're going to be, and this is what I keep hearing, we're going to be working with you on this project. Does anybody remember on this board and coming to them before this started?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner LaCroy.
I respect your thoughts on this, but the original motion on this subject was to reach out and ask Administrator Bell to come here. That was done in good faith. We knew the timeline wasn't good. I expressed that during the meeting. I have a copy of the meeting minutes in my pocket. If we can, in the hard drive, we can take that out if we need to. But it was to request information. We were sent a letter back in November, giving up a little bit of update when there's some discussion with the MacArthur grant. And so it's not like we've been left out in the cold. I think everybody's got concerns. And I think the public meetings will come. They definitely will. But at this point in time, I think it's unethical to hold a big meeting without the entities involved to be here. I think if you're going to hold a meeting, you do it in the evening. You advertise it the way it should be, and you bring as many people as you can on both sides to discuss it. But to sit here in a meeting that we're doing business in and send it out as a public meeting, that I don't think is appropriate at this time. I think they responded saying they're willing to come forward, but it'd have to be a time when everything comes together and the timing is right. When they have to do it, they're not denying to be here. They sent us requests and they've reached out to every commissioner on this board and to the community if they've come to the building committee. So I think what we should do is continue this on to a point where they could be here to address some of the concerns.
Commissioners, do you want to hear from the public today, or should we continue it on?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner DeSanto.
it would be my position that we don't have the proper representation from both sides here, and it would be a wise idea to continue it on.
Okay, I'm going to disagree, only because this is a public meeting. You should be able to speak. If they all speak at the end at the public comment, what's the difference? If you speak now, or you want to stay till public comment, it's still a public meeting. Till this comes together. So here's my issue with not letting people speak today. When things come together and I'm told from council members and other people that the mayor would like to get this done by Christmas and get that 7 million. I know it's not going to happen, is what I heard. But to try to push this through and do the building and get the money for the building and buy it and then come back and say, we'll be here to talk about this once we move forward is disingenuous. I think people are coming today, and I told people it was a public meeting because this is a public meeting, Lloyd. They should be able to speak because it says request for information. So we can request from one side, but we can't request from the other side their information. And here's the best thing. Hopefully it's helpful to both sides to move this forward about where they're going to go in the future. And to say that they met with county people after the fact, now that they're doing the project and they let it out, that's disingenuous as well.
Madam Chair, can I speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As I said, I have the meeting on a hard drive. It was just a respectful request for some information and additional, and to reach out is what it was, is to reach out. And we got the response and said, we knew this. I said it in the meeting that the schedule was busy. It was not presented to this commission. This commission has not had to make a decision on the Transformation Center at all. It's never come to our board to have to make a decision. There was an email sent out by the chairman saying that stop some stuff, but it wasn't from the commission. We haven't had to make a decision altogether at one point. So my point on the way this was presented was, it is disingenuous that we bring all these people together, because it wasn't meant to be that. It was meant to be a request for some information to reach out to see if they could be here. And then between the time of our meeting to the agenda getting sent out, it was taken out to the public as we were going to have a public meeting, come here, we're going to talk about it, without any confirmation from the other side. It's not saying that they don't want to. They do want to have the communication and reach out to you, but it's not in this forum. And not at the, see, that's the problem with this. We're talking about what he said, she said, what we feel. We need the both parties here to do it. That's just plain and simple. We can sit up here and talk about our perceptions of what it's going to be, saying that this is going to happen, that's going to happen, but it's really discouraging to both sides, because we're not going to hear all the sides. And I think that, this is a nonprofit. We're doing public business. If they want to come speak, it is at the end of the agenda. That anybody can come up and speak, and maybe that'll help. Then that'll give them some information. But I think our doing our business, we need to do that first. And I think the way this was presented out to the public wasn't right. And I think what we should do is continue it on. Or someone could set up a meeting where both parties can make it.
Thank you, Mr. LaCroy. Mr. Buskirk, I had called you on what your intentions were before I set up this meeting. I asked you if it was okay if the public came and speak. It was his motion. I asked him, Lloyd. I didn't ask you. It wasn't your motion, sir. His motion was that if the people wanted to speak, because I was going to go on the TV, because if this was going to be something that the public could come speak out, I talked to Mr. Buskirk. This was his motion.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Buskirk.
going out on a limb here, but quite frankly, at a meeting like this, the public really has no right to speak on any item unless it's a public hearing. But we allow them to do that because we want to get the public's opinion. And I guess my thought was, we've done it all in the past, and would be no exception. That if we bring it up and we make motions and the public gets to speak on them. That's the way I still feel. I'm not sure, do we still have a right of first refusal on that property? So I think we have a lot of discussion to make before they jump in and buy the property, which I think they want to do before they really tell anybody what's going on. And I think we have a right to know what's going on. That was the purpose of my motion. So we can decide if we want to buy the property or not. And if not, maybe we want to have a motion to, and I don't know the proper word, to say that we really don't want it over there. Not that it's a bad program. I think it's a terrible location. It's the middle of what they're trying to get this corridor from down Fifth Street to the School of Mines. And what are we doing? We're going to we already done it. And of course, if you say that we've got a restoration center, by the way, I voted against all of that too. We're going to stick all that stuff right in the middle of it. It makes no sense to me, especially when the city is going to finance it. I don't get it. And I think we have an absolute right to know what's going on, and we have a big investment to protect. And I think we have a right to do that. And we can stall. I don't care if you want to wait 2 weeks or a month. But I can tell you, if they come out and buy that building before we have a chance to discuss it or buy that property, I'm not going to be pleased.
Anybody else like to speak before Commissioner LaCroy? Commissioner LaCroy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Ron made a point. We don't have that up in front of us. We do have first right for refusal. We don't have that in front of us, and I think some discussions need to be made. My whole thought on this process is the way this was brought forward from, if you watch the video and the request, and then all of a sudden, and I understand they reached out to get some clarifications on his motion. Really, it was to ask if there was any more, is to ask about security and to ask about funding. If any money was going to come from the county, and no request has come from us for funding at any point. So I think it's until this organization approaches us and there's a contract signed for right of refusal, I think we should hold off in the discussions until that point. We can all reach out and do the discussions and what we need to do, but I think this is just not right the way this was brought forward. And that's my total thoughts on this process.
Thank you, Commissioner LaCroy. When the public doesn't get to speak at a meeting, and you call it disingenuous because they came because I asked Mr. Buskirk on it, and you're talking about me, which I appreciate. I can understand that. But this has always been a public meeting, and we've never made people not speak. And there are both sides, because I have talked to people that said both sides are coming. And because you don't have the project manager here describing what it's going to be, that's disingenuous to let people speak on it, because they have been listening in the paper, they have looked at data, and they have done their homework as well. And to tell them that we need both sides, you do have both sides. And number two, to tell that what you're saying is I said there was a public meeting. It is a public meeting. it's always a public meeting, like you said, and Mr. Busker said. So we don't want him to speak today because the other side you say is not represented. I believe it is. And I do appreciate the other side telling me their side because that's how I'm figuring things out. And if he, Mr. Busker, decides that he wants to vote on it, and we have 4 votes, we don't need to hear anything, right? Or 5 votes? We'll just shut it down without anybody getting to tell us what the real truth is. So it says request for information on the Pros Transformation Center. We're telling people we don't want to hear from them today. We have that right to tell people not to speak. Is that what we're saying?
I'm saying that, are you asking me?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, what I'm saying is that we didn't get both or all parties involved in this. We didn't give them time to make plans, to be here, defend what they want to do, explain what they want to do. I'm not taking any position, just so everybody knows, on whether I want it, the Restoration Center, or I don't. I simply want both parties to have their fair opportunity to speak on the subject. Nobody here, at least that I know of, has enough information to refute or properly argue in favor of the Restoration Center. I don't think that, for that matter, I don't think even the person that's running it has enough information at this time. I think that it's still a work in progress. That's just my feeling.
So then let the people speak and then maybe that would help because there is both sides. And I think it is on their request for information on proposed transformation center. Have we ever told somebody they can't speak on something that we've had on the agenda? Are we deciding that they can't, when?
Not on the agenda. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Talking about
So
something
you
else
put
right now.
something legally on agenda, and because I said it was a public meeting, you're telling me that the request for information, that the people out here have no information they'd like to share today.
Are you putting it back on me again?
No, I'm telling you on number 12 that it should be able to have people speak because it's on the agenda. If there's a motion to not have people speak and to bring it back and continue it at a certain time, then make that motion.
I think I made it clear. I think, and I agree with Mark. You know, the project manager doesn't have enough information to be able to clarify all the questions and answers that are out there. And until they sit down and go through their process to be able to do that, it's only fair that that's how it occurs. You know, we reached out and the response we got is they would be more than happy to. I would suggest continuing it to a date that they can attend, or, you know, they schedule. I'm not going to put words in somebody else's.
How many people are here today that want to speak on the transformation for or against? Is there just a couple? There's like 5 people.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Jay. At this time, this matter is not, at least from what I can see, it's not a county project or concern. Should it even have been put on the agenda in the first place?
Oh, Madam Chairman, I'm going to object to that. Of course it's a county concern. We got $30 million sitting here, and they're going to put 300 homeless people across the street. You don't think that's a county concern?
Okay.
Man, I don't know what is.
Glad you clarified that.
I've said it 3 times. You go ahead.
Jay Alderman with the State's Attorney's Office. I would agree generally with what Commissioner Busker just said. As you know, there's been any number of issues that the county doesn't have a particular contractual stake in or legal interest in, but nonetheless, people will bring something forward and maybe seek a resolution of the board in opposition to or in favor of something that you don't otherwise have any legal right or ability to literally stop or create, right? So that could be one way of describing what this agenda item is about, is folks both for and against coming forward, I guess, and saying their piece, and maybe asking you to be for or against the project. And maybe one meeting isn't enough to do that. Maybe there is another meeting that's more appropriate to do all of that at once when all of the people are present. That doesn't necessarily help you, but it's my personal opinion. I think it's accurate.
I'm sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to jump on you. The other thing that is, I think, makes it our interest is the project manager said, we want to work in coordination with the county's restoration project. She wants to get involved with our project. I think that definitely makes it in our interest to see what's going on with it. What do they want out of us? Maybe nothing. So far, I said no money, so that's encouraging.
The only other
It's odd, but it's encouraging.
The only other thing I would say, and I don't know if it's been in the paper or not, but you're all aware of it, the county does have, when the county purchased the NAU building and where the restoration center is, and then coming east of that where the library is, and I think the veterinary building or clinic, I think that area is under what we have as a first right of refusal. So if there is an actual offer, a contract ready to be offered and accepted, obviously we have the right to first purchase that property. I don't think our right, and if Mike's here, you can correct me, I don't think our right of first refusal goes over to those apartment buildings. Am I right about that? Okay. Just that grassy area in those two buildings, essentially. And I think we have 45 days. Once we are given notice that an offer is being made, we have 45 days to decide what you want to do. Do you want to buy it or not? So I think you all know that, but I just wanted to put that out there in case there's anybody that doesn't know that.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Jay. Commissioner DeSanto.
I appreciate the explanation, Jay, and Ron, you didn't insult me. I just want to get things clarified.
Absolutely.
I think, frankly, I understand that the county has a lot to do with this, but at this juncture, I don't think enough information has even formed to even make a decision or a thought or, it doesn't
Madam
seem like
Chairman.
there's enough information there.
Madam Chairman, I kind of tend to agree with Mark, and it makes me a little bit feel better that they're not going to hurry up and buy this property because they have an obligation to let us know about it, at least for 45 days. So,
Thank you. So, we're letting people speak? You got 5 people.
Mike, I still, Madam Chair, I still think do it appropriately. I mean, the request was for some information reaching out to RCI, not to take, I mean, that was the intent of the motion. I got it here if we need to review that. I mean, I think, as Mark said and everybody said, I think in order to do it properly, that we sit down and give notice to both sides of what the intent of the meeting is, so that everybody can come together and have a good discussion. If it takes RCI some time to get some information to give a good presentation, I think that's the proper way to do it and the fair way for both sides. Then they can work together on whatever they need to do. But I still think there's not enough information to be able to form a good meeting.
So it won't matter if people speak, because then they can speak on it and then gather more information in the future and then have another meeting on what we're doing. All right, there's no motion.
Madam Chairman, I tend to agree with Lloyd. On the other hand, I can't tell you how many times we have let the other side speak because they were here. We do it all the time, but, whatever.
Okay. Who wants to be first?
I don't care.
You got 5 people. that want to speak? How are you, ma'am?
Diane Albers, I'm a business owner.
Right up here.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning.
And just to be clear, this is not to beat up the project. It's, they want information on this, and they want to know what you're thinking, but not having them, we don't know all the information, and Lloyd's right. But I also appreciate people being able to voice their opinions so people know the concerns of the people.
And I
you.
would like to preface it by saying I'm intrigued by the thought that it's both sides. I'm not here as a side. I'm here to gather information, to learn about the project. I came to do that this morning. That was my intent. So I'm curious why there's sides. All we're trying to do is get facts, which you alluded to earlier. That's what we'd like to have. And also, I did have one question regarding the first right of refusal. That seemed to be just on some open grass, not the apartments, correct?
Correct.
So the apartments are what we're talking about, correct? So the county doesn't have first right of refusal on those. Is that right?
Jay?
Am I correct? So that's,
If I may clarify that, it's my understanding that the Transformation Center, and I'm going to have to rely on my
Ask
partner
Mike.
here, is going to include all of that area, not only where we have a right of first refusal, but maybe those apartments as well.
Mike Cool, Pennington County Buildings and Grounds. Currently, our first right of refusal is essentially for the properties on Block 108, from the old library to the veterinary clinic, that block, except for one piece of property that was not owned by the current owner. We do not have a first right of refusal on the old dormitories. As I understand it, the agreement that Collective Impact is trying to work towards with the current owner is to purchase all of that block and that additional, the old dormitories for this project. So there's a portion of it that we do have first right of refusal on it. The portion that's the ground that the dorms sit on, we do not.
thank you so much.
I appreciate that clarification for us as well.
And really, that was just to say that you're absolutely correct. Without asking for money, I guess it's really moot because they can buy the apartments, and there's really not a lot that we can do as commissioners if they're not asking for funding.
Right.
So, but these are all things that I think this many people who are curious about it were able to be here today. I'm disappointed that those people from Collective were not able to be here. So, thank you very much.
I'll defend them. She did have a lot of meetings, the project manager, so,
I did too
understood
this
that.
morning, but
Okay.
thanks, Deb.
Thanks. Okay. Yes, sir?
Sure, thank you for the opportunity.
Your name, sir?
I don't have a side. I'm pretty neutral.
Thank you.
But I'm looking to make a $4 to $5 million investment here downtown. And what I want to understand is, where do I go find the information? I've read a lot of high-level information, but I've yet to see an operating plan. I've yet to see what the cultural aspects and the impacts are going to be. I can't see a 20-year vision. If we talk about moving these entities that we're talking about moving, what's the long-term impact? And I can't find any place where, and I sit on a number of committees, a number of boards around town, and I'm trying to make a real sound economic business decision to make a large investment in the innovation corridor downtown. But frankly, I can't find good, detailed information of what the impacts are going to be. I can see what the plan is, but I don't think the due diligence has been done. And I can tell you that this exercise shows the lack of planning, the lack of detailed documentation, the lack of information, the lack of teamwork, frankly, in between our government entities to actually make a solid strategic plan for our community and our growth. And the size of investment that I'm looking at, I can't do that. I can't even make an informed decision without that level of information. So what I would ask is, where, when, how do we all get together and really make a strategic decision rather than what I would call a tactical decision to solve a short-term problem? Because that's what I see today. but I need somebody to steer me and to give me some of that information.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That was very, Madam Chairman,
What's your name, sir?
Jamie Hale.
Jamie Hale.
I think that was very informative, and you're absolutely 100% correct. If I was going to be a real smart aleck, I'd say go to the city, because they're the ones that said this will bring in all kinds of business.
Been there, had some of those discussions, but it's still not, it's not detailed, and they can't tell me, they can tell me why it starts to solve some of the short-term problem and how it helps, but nobody can show me what the long-term economic impact is to economic growth for the community by putting this downtown in a relative center where we're trying to do the economic growth for the community.
Thank you. You're correct.
That's where I'm struggling.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner DeSanto.
I believe that this citizen has just illustrated very clearly what Lloyd and I have been trying to say.
No, actually, I believe it's the opposite myself, because people are listening, and hopefully Collective Impact is listening. And it doesn't mean that just because he's asking questions, he's in the dark. He just doesn't understand all the issues, and he's trying to find those. And I think that's what we're here to do, is listen to what people are thinking. And in defense of the city and the county, I think there is a solution. I truly believe that if the mayor can work with and come to us, and we work as a team with the city council, we will be able to find the impact and what's going to happen. And the restoration is funded by some of the city, and we have appreciated that. So some of the comments in the paper are disingenuous towards us, but I believe this commission works well with the city council, and most of the time with the mayor. It's usually me and him, imagine that have a little bit more button heads, but that doesn't mean I dislike the mayor or everything he does is wrong. I appreciate that kind of banter, in a sense, to come to the solution. So next person that would like to speak, is there someone that's for this that would like to speak today on the positives and the things that we want to hear today? I think both sides, there's good rhetoric on both sides of this. Sir?
My name is Vaughn Vargas, and when you asked if there was someone who was for it and no one else jumped, I would say that illustrates that both sides are not here.
Okay.
Because I've spoken to people who really are interested in this and can see the true benefit of it. But I do believe that both sides do need to be here where we can address some of the concerns, and that way our public comment can be more informed. But I'm here to really, I've been hearing some misinformation, some offensive misinformation that this is a concentration camp for American Indians. And I was so offended by it that I took a day off of work to come clear that up. So I have some information, an article I'd like to reference, and I want to give the county commissioners that article. I've only brought 4, so I think Lloyd might be familiar with this already.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the misinformation that I'm hearing in the community that this is a concentration camp for American Indians, and I think that's highly offensive. Because in my research, I had found that Adolf Hitler was inspired by the American Indian reservation systems. And what the reservation system does is it takes a segment, particularly our Native American population, and confines them to an area where they cannot leave. And Rapid City has a part in that. Our community here has a part in that reservation system. So basically what they say is that you're not welcome in this area. You have to go over here. And I feel that that's happening now, is that saying these people aren't welcome here. And I didn't want to make this a race issue because this is talking about our homeless population. But I know there's a lot of people who are sharing this information and saying this is a concentration camp as a means of being opposed to it. So the race issue has been brought forward, so I'm here to address that. I know there's a lot of people, you had mentioned in our conversation that you've spoken to people, and I know there's a lot of people who support this, who are here, who pay taxes here, who are Native American, and who really appreciate these services, and that this isn't just a Band-Aid solution. This is a long-term solution. This is probably the most effort you're going to see in a long time to address, to give services. This is not a Band-Aid opportunity. This is an actual long-term solution to it. So I'm willing to, hopefully we can get another public meeting, and I'm willing to get those people so you can hear from themselves, and they can make that public statement, so it's not I've heard this from this person, I've heard this from that, those people can be here and voice that. And this meeting was relatively new. I just found out about it Thursday, so I had to miss a day from work. There's a lot of people who do work, who are disadvantaged, who can't have the liberty to miss a day from work. Secondly, away from that, I would say that this particular opportunity is that if you're looking to invest in the downtown and you want to invest in between our Cornerstone Rescue Mission and the jail, you're concerned about safety, I couldn't think of a worse location. But the industrial engineer in me knows that if you reduce those steps, like we have something right across the street from the jail. You do centralize that so those services are available. It is a prime location for people to use. And I would reference the job service facility. The job service was by the Prairie Market Plaza. There was a lot of people who would utilize that service, who would utilize day labor. Since it's been relocated behind the mall, you don't see people walking there. You don't see people commuting behind the mall. That just doesn't happen anymore. And I'd be interested in how job service has impacted our unemployment rate since it's relocated. I know when you decentralize these, you have a population that is, they commute and they go to different places in different areas. You dislocate them, and that's why I think they're starting to congregate in our downtown area. So I would hope we have a meeting, in addition to this, that gives everyone the opportunity to illustrate how this will impact our community and address some of the misinformation that's out there.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Farkas. Because I won't address that when we had our visit now until everybody's talked, but I'd like to give my side of that, that wasn't the intent of people, but it wasn't, just keep it at that. Okay. Anybody else?
Commissioners, my name is Joseph Wright. I'm the Associate Vice President for Research at the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. And with your permission, I'd like to read, President Pajinski was here earlier, but because of the extended discussion, he wasn't able to stay for the entire meeting and has requested that I read our formal statement on this project. We at South Dakota Mines are very much in support efforts to improve the lives of homeless individuals in our community. We are concerned, however, how the proposed location of the transition facility would impact the safety of our students. The reason we're concerned is because we're pointed to an example of this kind of a facility in San Antonio. And when doing our research on the facility in San Antonio, we see that within a half-mile radius of the facility in San Antonio, crime the second year, it was reported, increased 42% in that half-mile radius. If such an occurrence would occur here, that would encompass almost all of the student housing for our institution in that radius. And so obviously we're concerned, and we want to make sure that this project is well thought through, that considerations for the safety of our students are taken, and that we're fully informed on how our students will be kept safe from an increase of crime that a facility like this may bring, looking at other facilities that exist currently. In addition, it's no secret that the School of Mines has been working tirelessly to help and partner with the city to connect the two and foster this idea of an innovation ecosystem between the downtown and the School of Mines. And we've invested a lot of time and effort in this, as has the city and other stakeholders, which we appreciate and we think is a tremendous opportunity for our community, especially in regards to economic development. And so our question is, how does this, and our formal statement is, how does this project fit into that overarching plan and the efforts that have been so successful so far? And we're hoping that as the information comes out, that we understand clearly how this benefits us and fulfills that mission that we've worked so hard to push forward. And that's our statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Your name, sir?
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Darren Haar. I'm a local businessman, and I volunteer much of my time working in the community to make it a better place. By serving on several community boards and panels, one of the things that I'm very proud about is the work that I do with the School of Mines to enhance the growth that they're looking to do. There is a large group of us that are concerned about the safety ramifications of the RCCI facility. Part of it is just because we don't have the facts, and I think that is what we all want at this point. For me, this is not a generic fear of the unknown. I've researched homelessness, affordable housing, and effective urban planning. I've been involved in the collective impact. I also sit on the county's drug and alcohol board. I'm also a part owner of a large transitional housing facility in Rapid City and also an affordable housing facility in Rapid City. So my questions and concerns about this facility are based on the research that I've done and my direct experience. The Minnesota Housing Finance Agency conducted an extensive literature review of 70 academic studies on affordable and supportive housing, and they found: one, housing units do not exist in a vacuum. They affect the neighborhoods that they are located in. Two, research has found the scale of supportive housing projects is the most important factor in determining an effect on neighborhood crime. It's also worth looking to other cities that have embraced building extensive homeless facilities in their downtown. Through the transition projects, the city of Portland has built a series of service centers and beds for the homeless. Build it and they will come. The homeless population has grown significantly in Portland, and crime has exploded. It has gotten so bad that major employers are evaluating leaving the city. There's a November 10th article in the Oregonian where the CEO of Columbia Clothing Company rails against how bad things have become in the downtown. Here's a quote. In fact, I'm so concerned about the safety of our employees at the Sorrel headquarters that we are taking the next 90 days to reevaluate our location. As Portland has concentrated a homeless population, it has bred real crime that the police are having problems controlling. Another pertinent example I think worth looking at is the San Antonio Haven for Hope itself. The RCCI Transition Center is based largely on this model. The facility has significant amounts of violent crime. There have been 2 murders in the last 5 months at the facility.
Darren, just the statistics. I know that's true, but we have no one to back that up. Okay,
I can send you.
thank you.
Commissioner Hadcock, I could send that data to
Okay,
the commission if
okay,
you'd like.
okay.
On a personal level, I've been involved in providing transitional and affordable housing in Rapid City. From my firsthand experience, I know the data is correct. I can see how bringing more and more people together that have drug and alcohol issues, criminal backgrounds, and homelessness is going to create an ever-expanding environment of crime. Before coming back to Rapid City, I was an executive at DuPont. I've been involved in many large decisions that have impacted many people. And I've learned when making large decisions, you have to ask, what if the voices of concern are correct? And this is what I'm asking. I can see how the RCCI model is convenient for the service providers as it concentrates everybody into a single location. However, please hear our concerns, review our data, and let us see yours. And I think that's the big question that we all have, is we want to see both sides of the data. Do not dismiss us as uninformed, unthinking, or uncaring, or uninvolved, or against. We just have a lot of questions. And do not label us as not my backyarders. We want to understand how this will not create an environment of crime for people inside or outside of this facility, no matter which neighborhood it is in Rapid City or Pennington County. The data shows that putting several people of need into such a large facility drives increased crime. What if we see this in our downtown? What about the young and vulnerable students at the School of Mines or Rapid City High, both within a few blocks? What about the residents of the city that have expressed safety as the #1 concern for the downtown? What about the safety of the tourists that visit our downtown? What level of risk are we willing to submit these groups to? I'll end with this. I think we all agree that we have to do something to improve the homelessness issue in Rapid City. Building a 4.5-acre campus that puts all these issues into one spot, I think a lot of us have a lot of concerns about that and would like to know more. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak on this issue? And Vaughn, you are correct. It shouldn't be for or against. It should be just speak what you're thinking and how those concerns meet either one side or the other, and we can look that data up or know your concerns. So how are you, sir?
Good morning. My name is Anthony Rhodes. I'm a resident and homeowner here in Rapid City. My wife and I and others have discussed the issue of homelessness in Rapid City for several years. We're very excited to see the city and the county come together with this concept of this facility. But our concern more than anything else, and I've taken in homeless people into our home and had them there for several years. Our biggest concern more than anything else is you're providing them with a roof, but you're taking them away from the services. As someone else spoke to earlier, the services were centralized where people could kind of walk to them when they needed to. And now things are spread around the periphery of the city. And so by not giving them access to their services, you're not really helping them. And that, in fact, you're actually making them, putting them in an island kind of situation. So they live in this facility downtown, but they can't get to where the food is. They can't get to where the authorization is to get their other services that they need. And it creates more of an impediment to quality of life than it does enhancing our quality of life. And I think that this facility, while it will take care of some, I think we find that the greater majority of individuals who prefer to stay out wherever it is they're staying, because from where they're staying, they can get to the other things that they need. So
Thank
that's
you,
my
sir.
comment.
Thank you.
In defense of this, the one in San Antonio has 78 nonprofits in it. I don't know how many we'll have, but they are trying to centralize that, to be fair. So, anybody else would like to speak on this issue? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Gina Parkhurst. I didn't come here to speak to this issue, but I'm listening. And I have a question. We already have a homeless center downtown. We have the Cornerstone Mission, correct?
Yes.
Would that go away if this new center were opened?
I don't think they have answered that.
Good question.
And the Hope Center as well, I don't think has answered that at this point. So we could have three, we could have one. And I think that's a good question to have the people listen to and see what those answers. I think this is good. So some of those answers and some of that data that we're asking for, I think that's why I said to do this. And I agreed with Commissioner Buskirk and made it public. I'll be up straight with you, is because I don't think people are beating people up. I think they're just wanting to know answers. And to have somebody come in 2 weeks, I don't think they're still going to have the answers, because I've been listening for over a month, and they are trying to figure this out. But they should listen to the people beforehand, and then once, this is my opinion, that once you have the data from the outlining or the people that have those concerns, bring those data and that forward and show them that they're, you don't have to say wrong, but that this is why this is such an asset. Because I had talked to, I'll be up straight, I talked to the consultant, and he had some of the same things that we're having today, and he's saying it. They took away Prospects Court, and they've done these things, and it takes about 5 years, and we all know that, and that doesn't take data. It takes about 5 years for this to be where it needs to be. So there's going to be all kinds of changes. So I truly believe the people in this sense want to do the right thing. But is the right thing what they're doing is what people are asking, and I don't think that's a problem. So I don't know about the mission, but in defense of this, I truly believe the people doing this do have the servant's heart and trying to do the right thing. I don't know about the mission. We haven't heard that yay or nay, ma'am.
Okay. I think I heard Mayor Allender speak a month or two ago about this topic, and he said any new center would be more than a Band-Aid, as Mr. Vargas had said that currently our efforts to help the homeless are kind of a Band-Aid, offering them food and shelter, but not whatever services they might need to move out of the homeless world and into a situation where they have a home. And I can't remember the percentage of people who are, potentially able to move out of homelessness. I think the mayor said about 50% or more with the right services could move into the world of having a home, an apartment. And that's not being done now. So that's why I'm asking about the Cornerstone Mission.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I think Mr. Vargas wants to counteract or at least tell some facts on this, sir. Thank you, Gina. Mr. Vargas, please.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I would just like to kind of reinforce that as well. So I've been fortunate to attend a lot of these safety and justice challenges, criminal justice reform, and I do agree that this is an opportunity to demonstrate success, to wean people from off of this particular status and get them back into the community, get them back on their feet. And I understand and really respect some nonprofits for their ability to do that. But I was really inspired by the Secretary of the Department of Corrections from Pennsylvania. and he had said that anyone he gives funds to, he requires them to show by a standard deviation that they're reducing recidivism. And I really appreciate that because you have to demonstrate results if you are to receive any public funding from that. And that's why this restoration center and this transformation center was so attractive to me, because I'm not here to create another Band-Aid solution. I mean, the reason I'm staying in Rapid City is because there's a lot of awesome, prolific work that's happening. If not, I'd go work as an engineer. But I want to be part of this because I believe in it. And I believe this I've seen one presentation for the Transformation Center, just one, and that was on Thursday. And they answer a lot of the questions that are being brought forth here. But one of the things I was hoping that this Transformation Center could be is a model for best practices to show other people that if you receive any tax dollars to support your initiative, that you are demonstrating results. So hopefully this is that opportunity to really encourage our community to really step it up. Unless you're not receiving any tax dollars and you're strictly donations, and do whatever you want to do. But I think that's a great opportunity as we go forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner LeGray.
since we have some people here, I'm just going to review, I'd like to read some information that came to the commission that was sent out after we had a discussion on the MacArthur grant. I had requested some information, so I'd like to read that for you. It says, Dear County Commission, I want to take some time, and this comes from Chair Doyle, to brief you on where we are with this where we're at with exploring and the feasibility of the proposed transformation campus now that we are at liberty to openly discuss the site. Because this property was not on the market when it come on the radar, we were asked to keep quiet about it until the property owner had adequate time to notify the current tenants of the situation, as well as create a plan to construct replacement accommodations so that no one was displaced. At this time, a purchase agreement has not been completed, and we have not secured any provider partner agreements. Just to be clear, we will not be looking at the county for funding for this campus. Rather, by co-locating, we are hoping to complement our community restoration center and create a potential for future mutuality beneficial synergies and collaborations. Our goal is to work with the Community Restoration Center leadership to be as effective as we can as partners in assisting people on their journeys to a better quality of life. Pennington County took a lead on this concept, and we applaud you. Now is the time for us to work together to make the Restoration Center and the Transformation Center as successful as possible because our community needs us. While the county facility will provide more acute services, our community needs, such as safe places for the inebriates and drug addicts to sleep at night, detox, crisis care, and treatment, our campus will provide the long-term recovery-oriented services with an aim to create stability and upward mobility in people's lives. This is about offering solutions to break the cycles of poverty and trauma afflicting so many of our friends, relatives, and neighbors. That said, the demographics of this campus will serve those individuals who are already clean and sober, but need help getting our homeless and our near homelessness and are motivated to move into a permanent housing. Our intention is to house a variety of services that these individuals need, but are unable to currently utilize their fullest due to the array of barriers that they face: child care, transportation. We are still very early in our exploration process and are actively working to mitigate any potential problems, although we believe the potential benefits of the campus far outweigh any fears and have been associated with the idea. By reducing homelessness and improving our city's workforce, Rapid City will be viewed as more attractive. It is time for Rapid City and local agencies and community members to work together to improve quality of life for everyone in our city, especially those most vulnerable among us. Now, I read this to just kind of tell you where we're at, folks. I mean, They want to get together, they want to talk, we need to work on this. A little background for myself, I worked for City County Alcohol and Drugs for 9 years, and I've worked with a lot of the people with the addictions and alcohol problems. And I know where they come from when they talk, everybody talks like we're going to be housing criminals, or they're going to be housing criminals, and we're going to have all these activities. We have that right here, right now. It's just spread out. And that's not, we're not saying that I'm really messing this up. I really am. Because,
You're doing good, Lloyd.
you
Your
know,
heart's there.
everybody's saying the homeless creates the criminal activity, and it's far from the truth. You know, the intentions of this place is to catch the people before they hit the rock bottom. I mean, alcohol and drug addictions and homelessness, these are some tough issues. There is no one cure all fixed solution to everything. You know, it's when a person gets sent to treatment and they come out and they have no place to go. What do you think they're going to do? Part of the solution with this is to do some transformation of housing to get people to step up to where they got 3 months, they can put some money away to get their housing, get their lives together and so forth. What's the sense of doing an emergency committal on somebody, spending tax dollars of $5,000 to $10,000 for treatment, and then sending them out in the world after a month? You know, it's a way to help transform people. Have a plan to transform, to help move them up, not down. I understand the fears. I've been in this community all my life. I've worked in the drug and alcohol field, and I know the fears that are out there. I've had some of my own perceptions and had to correct myself on some of my thoughts. But please, let's not pass judgment yet. We don't have enough information to make a good, clear judgment of how things are going to come about. So all I ask for you guys, and even the commission, we have not made one decision on this at all. We've been involved in lots of discussions. It's been going on for 2 to 3 years, and there's still no firm plan to be able to say, this is going to solve your problems. This is going to solve your concerns. There's a lot of them out there, and it's a work in process. So please, just take some time, take a breath, and we will work together. That's all I ask.
Thank you. Commissioner, anybody?
I just have one thing. I think there's a couple of different questions. One is whether this really does any good or not. I think the only way you can treat addiction is the person has to want to be helped. You can't put them in an environment where you lock them in. That does no good at all. But the other question that I have, and probably more important to me, is the location of the place. And frankly, I don't like where it is being proposed right now. So but there are a couple of different questions that probably need to be answered.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, I have some questions, and I've been asking, and I have met with many different groups. Number one, when we talk about the Native American people, I have went to many different groups. They have been professionals or just people that live on the reservation that are professionals and just people that live there. I have talked to the people that live in Rapid City, and know one thing, I do hang around probably more Native American than white people. So they're not coming forward, the ones I know. With the police chief and the sheriff, in all due diligence, you are good people. But there is a fear there. So I'm not saying all Native American are like this, okay? It's the ones I'm visiting with. What happens is there's a restoration center, and people know, the professionals, the psychologists that I talk to, understand that there will be 50-50 Native American people in Health and Human Services, 70% in detox. That's one building. Crisis care, I did not do and didn't ask her, because remember, that's up and running, and that's learning, same with safe beds. The mission, depending on, I've heard they have 105 beds, they have 200 people, it serves a 200-mile radius. That's 70% Native American. Then the transformation, I was told by one of the people that were helping buy the building and listening to people, because I did listen to all sides, there would be 300 people and 75% Native American. Their fears were that you put a fence around and a metal detector across from a jail and a prison. That had nothing to do with just Native people, that had to do with all people that were in healing and in crisis. That's why I said that I didn't know if with the restoration, I think everything we're doing here is positive, but there's a centralization of one kind of people and one culture. If there's going to be healing and helping, then listen to those people is all I'm asking. Don't take my opinion, what I'm representing today. Don't take 5 of your people representing. Go to the reservations. Go to the LNI people that have 5-state region there that I listen to, that have done it in their community. Listen to the people of Rapid City besides just the ones you think are professional. Listen to all the people. They feel like it's a centralization of their people and believe, what does that incur with that, or whatever the word is. They do have concerns on religious and different things that are going to be in there, and I appreciate that I've heard there will be, and so do they. I think they need to know the facts, and it will come out. So I told them to wait. And yes, they did say that. Each group that I went to said that. Do they represent all the Native American? They don't. But they did say that because they're seeing a centralization of these buildings with their people. And it's called warehousing. Warehousing one kind of people in one area. I'm not calling it a concentration camp. I'm saying that when you warehouse a certain amount of people of the same culture, we are a culture in South Dakota of Native American. And I'm trying to protect that as well. I'm not trying to defeat it. And if we can help people, it doesn't matter what color, it's huge for us. It's huge for our community. I've been trying to do it since I was little. I listen to people, and I'm not saying you're not listening. I'm saying get both sides and see if that's going to be a culture center and it's going to be 70% Native American. Mr. Vargas, in all fairness, I am listening to you, sir. And I want to know what's going to be in there, and I will reiterate what you're saying. Number 2, we're not fearful people. Some people might be fearful, but we're looking at data, and we're not in the dark. And we're seeing what other areas, whether African American, whether they're white, whether they're Native American, whether they're Hispanic, what happens when you centralize people that in these conditions need help. That data is not fake. That data has been proven, and I'm just asking you what I'm looking for, Mr. Vargas. This is not everybody else. This is what I'm hearing. Answer the questions of these things, and I think these fears and in the dark and the my backyard stuff's not going to come out. They're going to be real issues, and this has been in the paper 3 times. Once where you let it out, once where people were talking negatively, like we're all stupid on the other side. And number 3, if we don't do it my way, obviously we don't know how, we aren't right. Because these are unknown facts and we don't have any data right now, but we'll get it to you. We're doing a $16 million building. We'll get that facts to you when it all comes out after Christmas. Well, I appreciate that, but then don't let it out a lot of times until you do have those facts, because that's where those fears and those unknowns start coming. The other thing is I'm listening to both sides. I am. I'm just not getting the data or the information from both sides. I talked to the consultant. He's a good man. He has a good servant's heart. His name is Scott Averson. He's a good man. He's been the vice president there. And I told him, the culture here is not Mexican American, sir. It's Native American. We need to serve our people and help our people. He said they're not doing the Prospects Courtyard, but we are doing a mission next to it, sir. What's the difference? Your calls for service, sir, were 1,877 people for the police department. He said that was all in the outlining areas. Okay, reiterate that. He said most of the calls were in the outlining areas around the center. I said, so what happens around the outlining areas of the center? People are telling me the police and the sheriff will be across the street. There's a public safety building. We're going to have them run across the street. You're also affecting the fire department. Did you ask the fire department, besides the police department, how they're affected by the services of this? I haven't heard anyone. I'm on the fire board, and we have career and volunteer fire departments. All I'm saying is, I'm okay being wrong. I'm very okay being wrong. But meet these people's concerns. Not because they're fearful, because some people are fearful. And some people are my backyard. But I believe the business people and the people that are from tech and other areas are asking questions for data and information. Because you don't have the project bought and you haven't paid for it at $60 million. I know you have to work the bugs out, but it's the same centralization with 3 buildings in the same area, and that does have effect, and that does have data. Look at that data, and if you can, what you say, make the people feel that this is good, because no one in this room, we're all for helping people. Nobody can deny that. Some of us don't and haven't been in that business, but I've also asked the people in the business, and they have showed me data. How many homeless people, the worst of the worst, out of that many that you told me, have you helped? Few. So what I'm saying is, what is the future of this and what do we hope to accomplish? That's all we're asking. With a centralized place, with the same people, with the same issues, no matter what color they are. There is data. There is a lot of data that people have tried this, and it didn't have to be a color. It had to be the people that need help. So please listen to what we're saying, because we're not saying you're wrong. We're saying showing us why we are. And you're right. Thank you, Mr. Vargas. Come on up.
What kind of motion are we looking for here? I think we've discussed this enough for not having a discussion.
I know, but Mr. Vargas should be able to back this up.
He
Yeah,
has
I would
twice.
just like to, the people you've spoken to,
Yes.
on behalf of the Native communities, people at LNI, I would just like for you, since you're saying that they're saying this, for you to get a letter in their opposition to this from them.
Okay.
Because I know there's people in the community who will support this, who will come and provide that written documentation or public appearance. And secondly, our conversation in the hall was you were very aggressive. And I know a lot of people in the Lakota culture will not really, they'll yield to let you get your emotions out.
Right.
And so I question how you're framing that conversation with these Native American constituents you're speaking of. So that was just my concern. But I would just ask that if you get this information and you're saying that there's people saying this and this is a legitimate concern, then okay, let's get a written document or let's get them here publicly, and I will do the same.
Okay,
Because I know there's people who are really offended by some of the remarks that are being shared in the community.
Right.
And I know that we'll publicly say that. So that's all I have.
I was on the Collective Impact, Mr. Vargas, with the Native American, and you remember I was in that group. And the traumatization is what they talked about, and police is not going to help people come up when they're supporting this, whether you think so or not. It's their right, and I understand it's great. But you got to listen to the other side, too.
Right.
With that, they're not going to put their names on this because they are fearful. There's where your fear is, sir.
But the thing is that the people, these are Native American elders who have established this, and you being part of Collective Impact should know that more than anyone. I'm not part of Collective Impact. I'm coming as a community member. But these are Native American experts in Lakota culture and historical trauma who are providing these services in this facility. And that's the challenge with Rapid City. Is that I explained to our criminal justice leaders, when it comes to culture and religion and spirituality, you can throw a rock in every direction and you can find a church, which is great if that's your faith. But we have a lot of these people, part of our Native American community, who that is not their faith. They want to practice traditional values. And that's why these Native American leaders who are part of Collective Impact had said that these are the type of services that should be provided in this facility. So, and I know that they will, I mean, there's documentation there. They worked a lot with Dr. Albert Linderman to establish this. They worked 2 years to do this. And you of all people should know that. So,
Yes, I do. And that's the people I represented. And my aggressiveness is not aggressive. It's a passion to take care of the people that you're going to be serving.
Madam Chair.
Man, that's enough. We're not here for a debate. We're supposed to be getting information. And I think we've heard about enough information. This lady hasn't spoken yet, but.
How are you? Good morning.
I'm Cindy Cook, and I'm a small business owner and property owner a half a block from where this proposed building's going to be. And I'm also concerned with the location because I had voted for the Main Street Square to come in to, you know, increase tourism and develop the downtown. And so I don't think anybody here is saying that we don't need this. It's just the location is what, I'm right next to Big Brother Sisters. So between the School of Mines, Big Brother Sisters, me, we all are really concerned about where this is going.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
That's what
Cindy.
I have to say.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak on this issue? I think we're all pretty passionate about this, and I appreciate that. But I don't think I'm aggressive around people. I do have.
Madam Chairman, it's time for a motion. Let's not keep going on.
I'd like to make a motion that we
It's time
continue
to
it.
stop.
Well, I'm tired of the rhetoric as well.
Hey, we're not supposed to be giving opinions. This is information, it says. So let's.
You're right.
Let's
You're
move
right.
along.
I'll stop.
What kind of motion are we looking for?
I would make a motion to continue this subject to such a time that we have facts and actual information, and the people that are looking to create this transformation center involved as well. And I believe that it would be appropriate to find out from them when they will have the information that they want to present and that they feel substantiates what they're trying to accomplish.
So you'd like to continue it, and then whenever they feel they can come and.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So,
I'll second that for discussion. I got one thing I gotta bring up.
do we have to continue it, or are we just going to say, because this is a request for information, it's not that we have to set up a meeting, but at this time, when Charity or the group wants to come forward, we can just bring them forward without a motion?
I think it's indefinite until they're ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so I don't think we need a motion, and then we can put it back on the agenda with them having the opportunity if they want to speak again. Okay. Anything else?
I got one thing. One thing that concerned me, and it has to do with this subject. I just read the letter that was forwarded from RCI that everybody read. And there was a response from Ms. Hadcock to the RCCI board, or to Charity, asking them, I'll just read it. Says, thank you for your update. This has to refer to that letter I just read at this time. We would like the Restoration Center taken out of your presentation. The county has vetted our process and believe that transformation should move forward on its own merits. And this was sent out at 10:12 at night. From reading it, it's been sound like it's coming from the Board of Commissioners. I just want to make the public comment that us as a board haven't made a collective decision on anything on this yet, except for just now to continue the information to that. So I just wanted to share that.
Okay, I'd like
with
to
the
share the
commissioners.
facts on it. What happened and why that ended up happening, Lloyd. Tell all the facts. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say, I was at the chamber meeting and they had a police officer in full uniform and sitting there, and I was representing the county commission. Charity Doyle was the project manager at this board, and she said that the county had a deficit and started going after the restoration. They also said, the police officer said, in full uniform, that the county detox and the safe beds were a problem. So I asked him why there's a problem. He said, it's a problem on the north side. And I said, that's unfair without the data and the information you're talking about. Who are you speaking for? Are you speaking for the police? So why I sent that out is I asked Charity, what was that? You beat up the county at a chamber meeting telling us about the restoration center. Then there's a police officer beating up the county. So I asked a couple of the commissioners, obviously Lloyd was asked, but it was later, I guess, if it was appropriate for somebody to do that. I also went to the Scott Averson, and I told him what had happened. He said, no wonder the county would have issues with that because that's inappropriate. Because we are supposed to work as a team and for one to beat up the other. So unfortunately, I did ask people.
My whole reason of bringing it up was it come across that it was a decision made by us. Your phone call to me was at 10:30, 11:30 pier time, that's where I was. And this had gone out before you even talking to me, so.
And you were gone. So, thanks. Get all the facts, Lloyd, before you put your facts out there that aren't true.
Madam Chair, we need to move on.
Yes, we do. 13 items from the auditor. Yep.
Good morning, KJ Peterson, Auditor's Office. We have in front of the board today applicant for renewal on the Rimrock Event Center for a liquor retail on sale with Sunday sales.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Buskard, second by DeSanto. For motion to approve, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Items from equalization. Mr. Shannon, please.
Shannon Rittberger, Director of Equalization. Simple request for an abatement. Trailer house left. Got a moving permit. Taxes paid.
Is there a motion, please, or a
Motion to
discussion?
approve the abatement.
Motion by Buskard, second by DeSanto. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 15, items from emergency management. Good morning, Miss Alexa. Almost afternoon.
Alexa White, Deputy Director with Pennington County Emergency Management. This item was continued from before your discussions with Dustin. He was not able to be here today. So in talking about the two stream gauges, the West Dakota Water Development does not want to fund. You wanted more information so that you could make an informed decision whether we wanted to, as a county, continue to fund those as is or at a possible reduced cost. And so Dustin, I believe you guys got this memo from him describing that and how we are able to use the Castle Creek gauge that's been in operation for 69 years and the Rhodes Fork gauge, which has been in operation for 36 years, and the different ways that we use it, talking about the general uses for peak flow and how the Castle Creek we do use to monitor high water events, for life safety. And we haven't used the Rhodes Fork gauge, but is still very valuable information for our community to have, but not our office particularly. And so basically the different options there would be to not fund either of them and just let them go. Another option is to fund them the way that the West Dakota Water Development funded them, which is at that $14,785. Or an option two would be to continue to fund the Castle Creek gauge, which is very valuable to the emergency management for the high water events at its current level, but reduce the Rhodes Fork gauge to a non-ice season. So it's not full year, but just you're still getting some of that information and keeping that data current and not, dropping that service off because it is valuable to the community in a different way, but not to our office specifically. And so that would reduce the funding if you chose to do it that way to $8,137 for 2018. So the USGS was able to give us a price that would be solid for 2018 funding.
Thank you. Discussion board? Mr. Buskard, you had brought this forward. Did you have any discussion on this, sir?
Just wondering, I mean, my major concern was what the Castle Creek gauge, how important that was to our emergency management. I don't think Rhodes Fork gauge is really that critical. Sounds like we don't use it very much. Somebody uses the data, but I'm not sure who. Don't know where we'd come up with the money. I was hoping maybe emergency management would have the $6,337, but I don't think they do.
We don't have it as part of our budget currently. So if you did want to make that decision, we would ask that it be supplemented into our Met Warren budget, how we fund the other gauges that the county funds.
Explain the Met Warren budget again, ma'am.
The Met Warren is, I'm trying to remember how many, but almost 20 other gauges that are funded that show us the high water events. So when we do have a rain event that causes the creek levels to rise, we can see that coming. There's alerts as part of that. We can be notified right away that that's happening. It measures the actual rainfall as well as the creek level that's rising. So it gives us an earlier indicator than we've ever had before, talking about the flood in 72, we never had that. So this allows an opportunity to say, this is happening, get people out of the way if the water is coming down in such a way that we need to, make emergency plans and take care of people.
Who funds the Met Warren? Just the county?
The county funds a portion, and then each area that has a gauge in their area. So Rapid Valley funds a portion. The city of Rapid City funds their gauges on Rapid Creek. I think there's 6 other gauges. So everybody funds their portion. USGS funds half of the project. So the total.
Here's the major question. If we supplement the Met Warren, are they going to pay their share?
Yes. This here is our share that the county, if we were to bring these 2 gauges back in, this is our share that we would fund. So they are already funding their share. So the $14,785.
Okay, this is just our share.
Right.
I'm going to make a motion to continue this until the next meeting to find out how much money we have in our contingency.
Okay.
I don't know where we're going to come up with the money.
Second.
Motion by Buskard, second by DeSanto on continuance. Thank you, Ms. Is there someone that wanted to speak that came today on this, or are you okay waiting for it to be continued?
I'd like to speak on 17. Will you get to that before lunch, or?
Yes.
Yes, hopefully. Okay, so there's been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. I'm sorry, Gina, did you want to speak on this, or?
Yes.
Okay,
Maybe.
go ahead, Ms. Gina.
That might be a good idea, yeah.
Gina Parkhurst here again. I just want to say I'm not an expert on stream gauges. However, I am concerned as a Rapid City homeowner about Rapid Creek and its flow. And my understanding is one of these gauges actually measures the flow from the Madison Aquifer, which I believe our city gets quite a bit of its water from the Madison Aquifer and from Rapid Creek. So I am concerned about these gauges. I would like to see them funded.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
We are on 16 items from the Highway Department. Item A.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Wilsey, Highway Department. Item A is the authorization to purchase a 2006 Chevy Colorado. A couple weeks ago, one of our vehicles was recently involved in an accident which rendered it inoperable. Repair costs would exceed the value of the vehicle due to its age and condition. It was a 94 Chevy S10 with over 100,000 miles on it. Kelly Blue Book for that vehicle is 2,500. Estimate for repairs in excess of $3,000. We looked around and we found a used 2006 Chevy Colorado with 59,000 miles on it at the South Dakota Federal Surplus property for $9,500. We feel this vehicle would be definitely an adequate replacement for the wrecked vehicle. Requesting a motion to authorize the Highway Department to purchase the 2006 Chevy Colorado from South Dakota Federal Surplus property for $9,500.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroy, or, I'm sorry, I said LaCroy, but
He's better looking than I am.
we're going to have a debate? Kidding. Commissioner DeSanto, then LaCroy, please.
One question, Tom. Did we
Yes.
receive any insurance settlement for the wrecked?
Not yet.
Damaged vehicle, but we will be.
I anticipate we will.
Okay. Then I'd make a motion to authorize the purchase of the.
Moved by DeSanto, is there a second?
Second.
Second by LaCroy, discussion, please.
Is that in your equipment budget?
It is not, but I do have enough money within vehicles over 5,000 to cover this budget, this item.
Thank you, Tom. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
4 ayes with 1 no from Commissioner Fairby. Item B, Bradsky Road Second Access Cost Estimate.
It was requested from you to bring a cost estimate for the Bradsky Road second access. Realignment would go from South Airport Road to a curve in Backcountry Trail. The length of this road is approximately 6,000 feet. Costs were estimated using county highway staff as much as possible. We figured we could put plans together for this project. Also, the cost estimate, we used highway crews and equipment for the construction. For the survey, we received an estimate of cost of $10,000. This would be for locating corners, topographic work, and preparing any H-plats that might be needed. Cost for preparing the plans, we estimated somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000. The plans preparation would take about 3 months, and as I said, could be done in-house. Construction costs are estimated at $200,000. We use numbers from a project we did north of Wall and Cheney Road, which is a similar type of roadway that we constructed. We estimate the construction would take a little over 2 months to do. Highway Department is requesting guidance on what the commission wishes done on this.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner DeSanto.
The cost for preparing the plans that would be done in-house, does that $25,000 in excess of what we would typically be paying an employee anyway?
No,
Or
this is the cost for the construction and for the plans preparation are what we figure it costs us to pay our employees to do
But
their
we're
work.
already paying them. They're going to be there anyway, right?
We're doing it, yeah.
Okay,
It just takes them away from other projects.
very good.
Tom?
We have to cost out all of our projects, and this is what we've estimated.
Do you have any other projects that have one access that were ahead of this one?
At current, no, we do not.
And you feel like this is a priority for to get this second access based on the information that we were, how long we been on this subject? Couple
Been
years?
a couple of years I've been on this subject.
So you believe that this is a priority that the highway department needs to get done?
I am asking the commission which way you want me to go.
Madam Chair.
I'm
So,
sorry.
You answered
I
my
am neither hot.
question, but.
I am not
Okay.
either hot or cold on this.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner DeSanto.
Also, can we get another survey estimate from another company?
I attempted to get one from one, but they have never responded. This is the one that responded to me.
Can we try for another one, maybe later
You
on
got, you
down the road?
got a volunteer, I think.
Keep trying. I'm just asking because I've spoken to a couple of surveyors that I know personally that think that this might be a little on the high side, but
This is for all the topo preparation of H-plats and everything. This was from day one. And the one that I talked to, he knows what we have for control points out there and some of the problems with this site.
okay.
So, Mr. DeSanto, I think the bottom line is, do you have support to spend money to move forward on this project instead of having you do all this work and then not have the support that this is a priority of the commission? And
Well, I guess that'd be a good question.
that's
It's a
what I-
priority for me.
Well,
yes, it is, sir, and I appreciate your work.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroy.
You know, I understand the hard work Mark has put into this and so forth. And I think these numbers are just coming forward. I'd like to digest them a little bit and think about it. I don't want to make a rash decision right away on this. I talked to a gentleman just yesterday on this subject, and I explained my part on this to him very clearly. You know, earlier in the summer, it was high priority to get that bridge because it was under limit. You guys worked exceptionally hard, got those piers reinforced, we got the weight limits up, and then, so now it's died down and it's not such a high priority for people anymore, except for, you know, he did mention there was a fire there earlier this week or last week, and the concerns come back up again, but we have a lot of places that are one access. But I just like to take, personally myself, Mark, a little time to digest it and maybe hear something from the commission and so forth.
Sure.
So I'd like to just continue to the next county commission meeting, if I could.
That's fine.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
I do. I have, you know, I think you need to probably do some additional looking for a surveyor to, because that maybe seems high, but I guess I am opposed to the whole project, since I don't think we should allow people who's out in the middle of the county build a subdivision and then expect us to build a road to it. I think, number one, I think somebody out there already agreed to build a road and now is saying, no, I didn't do that. So I see no purpose in why we should be building roads for developers out in the middle of the county. That's my opinion.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner DeSanto.
Just for public notice, it's been determined that the, so to speak, promise to build a road, those qualifications, I guess I should say, or quantifications, were never met. They never got to the point where they hit the point where they were obligated to build that road. And so just due respect to Ron, they never got to that point. Now, if they build another 100 houses, yeah, they're going to get to that point, but they don't, at this point in time, they didn't get to the point where they were obligated to build that road. I get what you're saying. I understand.
No, that may be true. I guess I haven't looked, nor have I had our attorney look at it, but it's still, the point still that I have is, what are we building roads for developers for?
Mr. Fairby, any thoughts?
No.
Okay, just one thought. Yes, ma'am.
I live out in that area. And
Come on up, ma'am.
Yes,
come on up.
Be helpful or not.
What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Florence Thompson, and I live in that area. I don't live right in that neighborhood. I live about 3 miles east of there, and I've ridden horses out in that area. Has there been any thought to, if you're just looking for another access into the community, has there been any thought to connecting up to Antelope Creek Road to the south?
I think at one time
You didn't
I
look
thought
at that?
I think at one time that access was looked at, but.
That would provide a fire escape or whatever, you know, for people to get out, or flood. If there was a flood, they could get out to the south.
I think it was the cost, Ms. Florence. Yes, ma'am. So, Tom, how much did the bridge cost on Bradsky Road? Do you know a total?
I don't have the numbers right here in front of me.
I think
I can get that
Mr.
number for
LaCroix
you.
is right, it's to continue, because how much have taxpayer dollars have we spent to do a bridge and redo that bridge for, as we say, 40 people or a little bit beyond? And now we're gonna do a road. I'd like to know that total cost of what's gonna be spent.
I can get them.
That would be helpful, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. There hasn't been a motion to continue. Do we want to continue this?
Move to continue to
Second.
the next commission meeting.
Second.
Continued by Mr. DeSanto and second by Mr. Buskerud. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for all your work on that, Mr. DeSanto, and you have been diligent on that. We appreciate that, sir. Now, we'll have a break, if that's okay.
You bet. Move to approve a break.
Motion to approve a break in a second. We're going to take 5 minutes,
That's
Ms.
next.
Florence. Thank you, Ms. Florence. We're on number 17, items for planning and zoning. We do have the Board of Adjustment on number A first. We need a motion to go into Board of Adjustment, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by DeSanto, second by LaCroix. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Reconsideration of a variance, number 1, please.
PJ Conover, Director of Planning Department. The item before you, I'm sorry, I was talking with
You're
council.
okay, sir.
Did you guys convene as Board of Adjustment?
We did, sir.
Okay, thank you. The item before you is reconsideration of variance 1704 for Black Hills Raptor Center. Davis Engineering as the agent. The request was to reduce the minimum required lot size from 40 acres to 5.06 acres in a general agriculture district. This was before you as a layout plat, which was approved by the Board of Commissioners. It was before you as a conditional use permit that was approved by the Board of Commissioners. There was also another variance, variance 1705, which split the subject property into, it's currently 28 acres. Well, it was 28 acres. It was split into 23 plus acres and and then left over a 5-acre parcel. The Board of Adjustment approved the subdivision and the lot size variance for the 23 acres, but the request for this lot size variance for the 5 acres was denied. Per our ordinance, the applicants are not able to bring this forward until 12 months has passed, but this section does not apply to governmental agencies or the commissioners. Staff has discussed this with the state's attorney's office and feel that it requires reconsideration for approval, or at least to look at the lot size variance for the smaller lot for variance 1704. They have a conditional use permit at this time that needs to be reviewed for the Raptor Center that was approved in 2016. They would need building permits to get started on their construction, but because this lot was not approved by the Board of Commissioners or the Board of Adjustment, staff can't move forward. So staff is requesting reconsideration of this lot size variance.
So my question is it legal to do a reconsideration, or does someone have to rescind on a Board of Adjustment?
Staff don't, I don't know. Don't know where he
Well, I
went.
didn't think about that till today.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner DeSanto.
I'm pretty certain that they would have to rescind on the Board of Adjustment first before we could make any motion to change, because it was voted on.
Jay?
failed.
What was the vote, PJ?
Which one?
The reconsider variance 17-04, sir.
3-1. Originally, it was 3-1. The request was to reconsider from the prevailing party. The prevailing party said no.
Okay. So if one party wasn't there, can they rescind that wasn't at the meeting? Can they rescind it, or are they a yes vote?
This is a brand-new issue. This really, in my opinion, this is more of a rescission than a reconsideration. Reconsideration, as you know, is you reconsider the issue at the actual meeting that you voted on or at the next meeting.
Okay.
This has been, what, almost a year or something?
Yeah.
Since the decision. So this is really more like a rescission. One could even argue that it's just a new motion for the variance. As it turns out, they both are fine with a majority vote. So, but I think your practice in the past, if you want to undo a decision that you made previously, that's not a reconsideration at that very same meeting where you made the decision, then you use rescission, I think, as Commissioner DeSanto brought up, to undo that, and then it comes back in front of you on the original motion.
Okay, so this wasn't something that was a couple meetings ago. This was a while ago.
That was like
And I
a year ago
apologize.
or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions of Jay, board? Okay. So, anybody need to know the information, if that's okay? Any questions for PJ? Or a motion?
So, Jay, you said anybody can make this motion? For reconsideration? Rescission of the previous one.
I don't think that this is really a reconsideration, whether you wanted to vote for it.
I don't
It's
think
not
you
really
can-
what
you
we're
can.
doing here. This is really anyone on the board who feels that with this information that's being presented today, feels that that decision was unfortunate, inaccurate, should be changed, whatever words you want to put to it, could do a motion today to rescind that decision. If that passes, then you can bring the original request back in front of you, and you may not pass it again, or you might. But
I make a
that's
motion
the-
to rescind the previous motion.
Been a motion to rescind by Buskerud,
Second.
second by LaCroy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. How many votes in order for this to pass, PJ?
If it's Board of Adjustment, I believe 4, correct?
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And that was the vote on the last variance, 4-1.
So I would ask if we could to continue this since we have a vote of rescind, and I'd like to get more information because I didn't have time because of Christmas vacation and because of my father-in-law passing away and the funeral the last couple weeks. So if we could have a continuance on this so I could actually go out there and look at the property, I'd appreciate that.
Madam Chair, I think the rescission failed.
Yeah, because there was only
As a- There were only 3
No.
yes votes.
So Board of Adjustment, the reconsideration fails that way too, or is
No,
just?
the rescission passed because there's 3 of you that voted
okay.
for it, because
Okay.
Yeah,
you
I
weren't
needed
voting
4
on a
as well.
variance, you
Sorry,
were voting
and
on.
I apologize.
Now-
should've-
Now you need, if you address the actual variance, now you need 4 of you to pass.
Okay.
Okay. So,
I'll make a motion to continue it, to give
thank you,
chairman a chance to go look at it.
Buskerud and LaCroy. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries with 1 no. Thank you.
Who was no? Who voted no?
Commissioner Fairby.
He said aye.
No, he said aye.
He said no. Okay, Commissioner Fairby, what did you say?
No on the reconsideration, but
Right, he said no on that, but on this vote, you said yes,
He said
correct?
yes.
Aye for,
Okay.
okay,
he said
thank
yes.
you, sir.
You ought to start paying attention, Chair.
What's that?
You ought to start paying attention.
Yes, sir, if you say so.
I did say so, yes. And I meant it.
Out of line, Mr. Fairby.
It's the
Let's move
last,
on.
it's the last meeting of the year. Christmas is coming. Can we get along for one meeting?
I don't think that's possible for Mr. Fairby, but I'll be nice. Okay, keep going.
Good morning, Cassie Bolstead, Assistant Planning Director. Item B, this is a variance request for Paul and Rebecca Fredell. This is a request to reduce the minimum required side yard setback from 25 feet to 0 feet on the south property line in order to bring an existing house into compliance. This variance, when we were reviewing the plat of this property, there is an 8-foot minor drainage and utility easement that they have to vacate a portion of before they can move forward with this variance request. They have, as of last week, submitted that application, but it needs to go through its process. So we are requesting that this variance be continued to the January 16th, 2018 Board of Commissioners
So
meeting.
move.
second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Motion to come out of Board of Adjustment,
So move.
Second?
moved by DeSanto, second by Mr.
Moved by
Busker.
Buskerud, second by DeSanto.
Okay, Busker, then DeSanto. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next is the consent agenda, Ms. Cassie.
Yes, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine planning and zoning items quickly. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. The consent agenda for planning and zoning contains the following item. Item C, minor plat 1745 and subdivision regulations variance 1715 for Josh and Lindsay Richardson, and approval is recommended.
There a motion?
So move.
Moved to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Buschard. Anybody, citizen, would like to speak on item C? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're on regular agenda items. Item D, please.
Frank Waiseth, Planner 2. Item D is a major plan unit development amendment for the Bighorn Canyon Ministries, Agent Perry Lewis. The request is to amend the existing plan unit development to change the use to allow a place of worship and associated activities. Former use was as a recreational resort. This property contains the old governor's mansion, pond, several outbuildings, which will be used for fellowship activities as proposed by the applicant. It was routed through interdepartmental review. No major concerns were raised. Septic capacity seems like it should be adequate for the building, and they're proposing to build a new building as well.
Move for approval.
Moved by DeSanto, second by LaCroy. Any discussion? All in
Just
favor?
one, Madam Chairman.
Go ahead, sir.
Once again, we're taking taxable property off the list and making it non-taxable. Pretty soon, I think I'll probably be the only one paying taxes in this county.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Buschard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item E, please.
Item E is preliminary plat 1744 and subdivision regulation variance 1714 for Laredo Holdings LLC, Ryan Caskey as the landowner, to reconfigure lot lines to create lot 9A, 9B, 12A, 12B, 13A, 13B, 16R, common area, 17A, 17B, 18A, and 18B of Block 6 of Sunset Ranch. Now that that's done, let's get through to the whole thing. This was before you as a preliminary plat before. It has also been through the Planning Commission before it got here with an approval for the preliminary plat. The biggest issue that came up with staff and with the applicants during this was the need for fire suppression in the water flows. The water flows have been tested in cooperation with Fire Marshal, I believe it was Fire Marshal from the city of Rapid City, working in conjunction with our fire administrator and the landowner and their agent. That information is included in your packets. Some of the concern that came up with staff and the applicants was the need for fire sprinkler systems. Actually, staff, fire administrator, and the applicant and the agent, landowner and the agent all met this morning, and we came up with some revisions to the current conditions, which all parties involved agree on. These would be changes to what the conditions were that were approved by the Planning Commission originally. But there is also a subdivision regulation variance that has been requested, which is subdivision regulation variance 1714 to waive the requirements for percolation tests and soil profile information. Staff has no problems with recommending waiver of that subdivision regulation request, as that will be done during the time of the building permit process. So with that, I'm looking for two motions. The first for the subdivision regulations, and then, if I may, Madam Chair, I will talk about the changes to the next series of recommendations and those conditions. So the first is staff recommends approval of subdivision regulation variance 1714 to waive the requirements for percolation tests and soil profile information for the proposed lots in Block 6 of Sunset Ranch.
Move.
Moved by LaCroy. I'll second it for discussion. Hadcock? Discussion, please. No discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Recently, the Planning Commission approved the Plat 1744 to create the subject properties and the additional lots. Like I said, there was some concern about the fire sprinkler system and fire mitigation. Again, fire administrator, staff, the landowner, and the agent all met and came to a consensus on a few conditions. There are, let me go through here, 19 conditions that were approved by the Planning Commission. Staff is asking for the following changes. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to get it to you before the meeting. We're looking for a change on the first condition. This is how staff would like it to read, and I'll get you a copy.
Okay.
For residential structures larger than 3,600 square feet, that prior to a building permit, a residential sprinkler system design and fire mitigation plan need to be submitted for review by the planning director, to the planning director and the county fire administrator or jurisdictional entity. The system may need approval after installation by a qualified professional. May. The other change is to condition number 2, that would read that the fire sprinkler system suppression be installed in all new residential structures larger than 3,600 square feet. Item C, condition number 3, we're looking to add the words that prior to submittal of a final plat before the existing condition that's there. On items, existing conditions 5 and 11, we're looking to have those removed as those have been met or are not needed anymore. And a new condition be added, which was discussed with the agent this morning, in relation to a code of federal regulations by the government for our floodplain ordinance. For 5 acres or 50 lots more being subdivided, you have to provide the base flood elevation of the lots that are affected. So there are 3 lots that are being affected, lot 13A, 13B, and 17A. So the base flood elevation per federal regulations would need to be determined. There is a considerable amount of floodplain on the proposed common lot for 16R, but because it is currently or proposed as common area, base flood elevation is not required per this regulation. So that condition, just for the record, would read that prior to submittal of a final plat for proposed lots 13A, 13B, and 17A per Title 44, CFR Chapter 1, Subchapter B, Part 60, Subpart A, Section 60, the base flood elevation be determined and submitted to the planning director. Additionally, the creation of proposed common lot area 16R may not require a determined base flood elevation at this time, as it appears the special flood hazard area is contained entirely within the proposed common area. So therefore, staff would recommend approval of Plat 1744 with the proposed changes and deletions, and that would be with 18 conditions total.
Is there a motion?
So move with the changes.
Second.
Moved by LaCroy, second by Busker. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item F, please. Request to waive penalties for Paul and Rebecca Friedel.
Hello again. So this is a request to waive penalty fees. I'll give you a little bit of a background of why they're requesting this. The Friedels purchased their property at 23567 Longhorn Court in 2017. The existing house that was there was built in 2001. It was built with a building permit. However, it was not constructed in the location as submitted on the site plan in the building permit. So when they bought their property this year, a survey of the existing residents indicated that it did encroach into the required setback. They have submitted a setback variance, which is the one that was just continued a few minutes ago. But at the time of the application submittal of the variance, they did pay a penalty fee and a late charge per our zoning ordinance. So they are requesting that the doubled application fee and penalty fee paid per our zoning ordinance totaling $800 be refunded.
Okay, thank you. Sir, do you want to come up and visit Mr. Friedel?
That's not him.
That's not him?
He's not here.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were Mr. Friedel. I
I
apologize. Commissioner LaCroy.
You know, I understand the penalty fees and so forth. And I kind of disagree with waiving them, but except for in cases where, like this, but do we ever get the ones I strongly, firmly believe is the person who actually did it. You know, I find it hard when someone buys a property that somebody else did something, and I understand the concept. We should hold these penalty fees because to show that we're going to charge them if you do it, but I really struggle with that. I just want to, do we get many where we actually get the actual landowner that did something that was?
Unless the new property owner were to go after them like civilly or something along those lines, then no. I mean, it never goes back to the person who actually did it. This one was in 2001, I believe, when this house was built.
Have a motion?
I struggle with this, but I'm gonna make the motion to waive the penalty fees, refund them.
Moved by LaCroy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by DeSanto. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Item G. You must be Mr. Allard. Thank you for your patience today, sir.
Item G is brought forward by a citizen, David Allard, who lives at 12350 West Highway 44. It's a discussion on that.
Sure.
I don't have anything to, do you have a map? Is it
Yeah,
show
could
us
you
the
put his
map?
pictures up, somebody?
What's your name, sir? Your name, sir? Your name, sir?
Well, pardon?
Your name, please.
I'm sorry.
Your name?
David Allard.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I guess I'm trying to just get a building permit for putting a mobile home back on Lot 4. This mobile home, little small mobile home park has been there since 1970. This pad that's there has been there since 1973. In reality, it's actually about 60 feet away from the floodplain and about 6 foot above the floodplain. But the map in question, the floodplain map is skewed and it's basically off like this instead of being on top. And what it shows is that the map barely hits the edge of that Lot 4, which requires me to have to prove that it's out of the floodplain. When actually, in reality, if you look at it, it's way out of the floodplain. So I just think it's just an undue burden for me to have to pay all this money to prove something that's extremely obvious.
So you're here today to say to us that.
I'm sorry.
You're asking the board today to approve something.
Well, all I'm asking is that just that I want to be able to just file for a building permit to move a mobile home on without having to go through all this cost of proving that I'm not in the floodplain. Because the map, as you can see, the map is very far off. You got to move the whole map 60 foot.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, because it's shifted over and it barely hits Lot 4, which is, I don't have a PowerPoint. But anyway, it just hits Lot 4 and right on the edge. And because of that, the planning department is requiring me to have a surveyor, an engineer, and to prove that it's out of the floodplain when you can stand there physically and look at it and see that it's way out.
Is it a legal thing, PJ, would be my question. Can we legally say he can't get a permit or can get a permit? How about that?
The regulations, since the county is involved in the National Flood Insurance Program, we have to follow the regulations as set. If 1 inch of a structure touches a special flood hazard area, FEMA considers the entire structure in. The applicant was given the opportunity to submit a variance to the floodplain ordinance and refused.
Is he in the flood hazard? Because you said it had to be a flood hazard.
Special flood hazard area is the Zone A, AE, which is the 100 and the 500 and the floodway. It's just special flood hazard area encompasses everything.
Thank you. I thought you meant just flood hazard when you read the rules, but it's 100-year, 500, and floodway, so.
Yeah, all of them.
Madam Chair,
And he's in the floodway.
don't go home yet, PJ.
Sorry, sir?
I said, don't go home yet.
Oh, I'm not
You were
going.
getting ready to go back to your.
No, I'm just moving the pages over.
If it's FEMA's mistake, which it apparently is, do we need to hold this guy accountable for FEMA's mistake?
He is the landowner. The county is involved in the National Flood Insurance Program, whereby these are the maps that we go by. I could also pull up FEMA's maps, and they'd be the same exact thing. This is off of RapidMap, which has error. If you'd like, also, this issue was brought up before Tom Burney, which is a Region 8 rep for FEMA, where he had a discussion with Mr. Allard in June, and I can read his notes from that, from an email from June. Okay. Received a phone call from David Allard. He had concerns about the mapping accuracy and required permitting. I talked to David and explained to him that it appears that there is a shift and that we will look into it. When asked why it is not as simple as just moving the shift over, I explained that it may put new homes and properties into the floodplain. Those individuals have the right to know what is going on and appeal or provide data. Just like he would not like us to do it to him, we have to respect the citizens and give them a chance to be aware of any mapping changes. He understood that and wanted to know a timeline. I told him that it would take a while and that it would be best to comply with the county. He understood and will work with the county. There's more to it, but that's basically his of the conversation he had with Mr. Allard.
And sir, you heard what he said in your defense.
I guess I'm just looking for some common sense. I'm not in the floodplain.
Okay.
And it's obvious that if you look on the map, I am not. If you were to move it properly over, that's all. So I'm just trying to simplify.
Commissioner DeSanto.
Here's the problem as I see it.
Hold on, Commissioner LaCroix, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And maybe I'm wrong, PJ, but, if we start going against floodplain and the maps and the ordinances, what does that do to everybody else? I mean, they can cancel our insurance then.
They would, yes.
I mean,
Even
it's a
more
bigger problem than this gentleman, which is a problem, I understand. But
Everybody with flood insurance would be affected and would, their rights.
No, I don't have flood insurance.
But we're not talking about, this is a bigger thing than just you, sir.
Sir, we'll let you speak
Everybody in the
after
county.
PJ. Thank
Yep.
you, sir.
That's why the county chose to do these regulations, is
I
to
know.
have the flood insurance cheaper. And in previous demonstrations, presentations, if you remember, FEMA is actually going to recommend the county for a community rating system because we do regulate it so well, which would then reward the citizens of the county that do have flood insurance, and their rates would be lower because of the regulations that we have. If you go against the ordinance, it doesn't look good for FEMA. And if we do lose their support in the National Flood Insurance Program, premiums would go up across the county.
There is a creek running by your house, sir?
Rapid
Creek.
Yep. So we have, and the past issues, and I think what PJ's saying is they're trying to protect your interests. But
That's fine.
not so much yours, but everybody else's.
In other words, I just got to jump through the hoops.
Well,
Commissioner LaCroix.
so he can apply for a variance, he won't have to do all that floodplain stuff, right? Is that what,
Depending on what the variance is that he applies for,
okay. But that option was given
the option was given.
to David,
Correct.
and so that could be a cheaper route. I think that's where his concern is not only the maps, but the cost of doing one or the other.
When it comes to measurements, it usually comes down to a surveyor. We look at it, we've talked with Mr. Allard before, it appears to be off. We have to go by the maps that they give us, and the only way to really do that is get a surveyor out there and look at it. There was a surveyor that was out that actually did the property across the street and actually revised the map accordingly. So it has been done in the area. There have been studies that have been done.
Well, I guess in my perspective of what I hear now, this is the actual map that we have to all go by. Am I correct? This is the Holy Grail? Okay.
Apparently, for the
Okay.
time being.
So it just says discussion, not a motion or anything today, but do you have anything else to share with us?
No, that's it. I guess maybe I'll apply for a variance and I'll try to go through the hoops.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Allard, for your discussion today, sir.
All right.
Thank you, PJ.
Thank you.
Number 18 is items from the chair and commission members. Busker?
Yeah, I was in Pierre last week for the Association of County Commissioners Board of Directors. And yes, George, as one of their directives is to attempt to get a sales tax for counties. And now, how serious they're going to be about introducing something like that, probably not. So if we do, they will support it. Is kind of what I got. If we can find a legislator who will propose it, they'll support it. Municipal League will probably oppose it, of course, and the state will probably oppose it, but it's worth a shot, probably. You know, it took us a long time to get any money out of the liquor, so.
Thank you.
Never know.
Commissioner DeSanto?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner LaCroy?
Well, first of all, Ms. Hadcock, I'd like to apologize to you. You were right. When I read that email, I took it out of context, so there was more to it. I was just following the line, so I apologize. Second, as far as, we're going to do committee reports after this, so.
We can do both. I think
Okay,
people are
let's do
doing both.
committee.
Are you?
I wanted to talk.
Okay. You said we'll let LaCroy talk. Well, Busker kind of made that kind of into both, but
Well, me and Mark.
I'll blame him.
Yeah, I'll let Lloyd tell the story. No, me and Mark are going to kind of tag team on this one. I
Okay,
think.
there you go.
We presented, me, Mark, and Joe attended the L&I, did the hand games.
Nice.
Tag team, your shot.
And I was remiss and didn't bring the beautiful, gigantic, like 6-foot-tall trophy
guys won?
we won.
You guys, woo! Is that right? That's pretty cool.
So we whooped up on the city. They had us down, what was it? Probably you get 16 sticks altogether, and we were down to 3.
Yeah.
And we came back from behind and took them all back, so.
And I apologize. I actually read up and was going to participate until my father-in-law's passed away. So I was pretty excited, gonna be able to do that, but I was pretty excited that we had a group of people from the county, you two and Mr. Gutierrez on that team, because that was pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, that was. I was kind of impressed. Mark even, I was following Mark around afterwards, and he was asking some of the people, well, we got to play the drums.
Mm-hmm.
We both got to play the drums, but one of the questions Mark was asking as we were watching some of these other people was, we were doing a lot of psyche stuff with these people, giving them looks and so forth.
That's right, that's right.
But, Mark was very observant. He was watching some of these kids playing, and they were doing these motions, so we asked. And it was interesting. When they were using their hands like this, it was to bring the good spirits. And it was like that to get rid of the bad. And then on the bones, they would actually wipe them clean when they'd get them, wouldn't it?
Right, yeah,
So-
they cast off when they get a bone, it's the other team's bad luck. So when they hand you the bone, supposedly the bone has bad luck on it. So you take your fingers and go like that and cast the bad luck back on your opponent.
Must have worked.
One of the coolest things.
What was
is-
that hand signal? Just kidding.
But,
I'm
yeah.
teasing.
Not that one.
I'm teasing.
But, one of the coolest things is this weekend, I went out took my mother out to dinner, and I read in that video to teach us how to do the hand games, the guy that was doing the teaching to the group. And I could recognize his voice, so I went up and thanked him, and he was just happened to be around there, so he was kind of odd on that.
That's
So
cool.
Very cool.
Anyway, all in all, we had a good time, didn't we, Lloyd?
we did.
And it made it even better that we whooped up on the city.
The only other thing that, if we're doing committee reports so I went to the Chamber Committee of Conference meeting. There's really nothing to report. They were doing, approving the budgets and going through the separations of the CVB and the Chamber and so forth, so that was interesting. We didn't, I wouldn't say that the city-county meeting was official, but Deb had lined up a bunch of treats and kind of a little get-together, and there was about 4 of us, but we had that meeting, we had some, just a brief discussions of where we'd like to see this go. And so it was agreed on, Mark was there, Box Elder, Larry, and that's not right, Box Elder Larry.
Yeah, Larry.
I shouldn't say Box Elder Larry.
Mayor of Box Elder.
The mayor, Box Elder.
Kind of make it sound like he's living down by the tracks.
So we had a little discussion. We decided we'd hold another meeting in April and have some discussions over how the meeting should go and so forth. So that was good. So I'm sure there were some other ones I went to. I just can't think of any right now. So with that, I'll pass off to George.
Commissioner Fairby?
Nothing.
Commissioner DeSanto, you said you didn't get to have your committee reports.
That was it,
Okay.
right there.
I'd like to thank the group from LNI. I had some people from Wamlee over for supper and also went to the games and went to some of the meetings there. And I think they have progressed in the LNI and for Rapid City in a very positive way moving forward. And I thought it was pretty awesome, the red carpet and all the other things that they've done. And a good friend of mine had lost his family and stuff, so this summer, and Jerome knows. And I would hope we could still build and make that a bigger and better event for Rapid City. And I think also I appreciate being chairman of the committee this year. Sometimes my passion comes out on the front, which I apologize sometimes for, but I do appreciate helping this committee and everybody that has done good things to move me forward on some of the stuff that we need to move forward on this commission. So thank you for doing that and being there for me when I need some of your suggestions. So thank you. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. And next, we are on number 20, approval of vouchers.
Move for approval.
Moved by LaCroix, second by
Second.
Buskerud. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
3 ayes, 2 noes from Commissioner Fairby and Commissioner DeSanto. Item 21, items from public. No items from public. Next is 22, executive session. We do have.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Since we've kind of discussed this before in executive session, do we really need one?
For what?
An executive session? For the hiring?
Oh, I think we're discussing 2 issues. Are we discussing 2 issues or one? I don't know.
Have you got an issue?
Understanding is you have one, but you could make that motion for the hire right now. You don't have to wait and come back in and do it.
Okay.
Well, I don't think, I mean, we've kind of decided who, now it's just a matter of how much money, and I don't think that's a matter for executive session.
Okay, let's go ahead. Mr. Alderman, what would be that motion to hire, or Ms. Holly? Okay.
I'll make a motion to appoint John Morrell as Human Resources Director at grade 24, step 2, $6,408 a month, effective 1/2/18.
For a second.
Second.
Motion made by Buskerud, second by LaCroix. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, motion carries with 1 abstention. Next, we'll have executive session for, go ahead.
Yeah, you just have to move to go into executive session for a personnel item.
Okay, is there a motion? Moved by Buskerud, second by LaCroix. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Executive session?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There's no action to be taken, so a motion to adjourn, please.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.